Morning, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday, 13th of February. Can you believe that helicopter crash in the Grand Canyon? About 4 people walk away from it. I find that unbelievable. Unlike that poor man who was poaching lions. Bit of a mistake on that one, I think. Seeing as the lions that he was trying to poach, they found his rifle and they found his head. The rest of him had been devoured by the lions. Apparently, nobody came to rescue him. The whole thing was a bit of a disaster, so it was kind of get your own comeuppance. The Oxfam story, the story's running in the papers today, is that Chief knew of the sex claims. The Oxfam deputy is now quit as the charity is fighting this scandal fallout. And another headline, which is abuse rife in Oxfam shops. I can't seriously... I did say yesterday and the day before, is this the downfall of Oxfam? Is Oxfam going to go under and it's a case of people are not going to trust it anymore? Who knows? Also, the tears of Paddy's devastated wife. I don't know why we waste time on these silly little things. I really don't. So Paddy McGuinness, seen out on the town like, blokes do. This time seen out with Nicole Appleton. Hardly the most live wire you're ever going to be seen out with. And you have to sort of ask yourself the question, why... So, Paddy's wife, 200 miles away, drives out of the house. The car's covered in snow. She has to clear the windscreen. That must have really annoyed her to start with. Only to be confronted by a barrage of photographers waiting for her to come out of the drive. Why didn't she just stay indoors? Let them freeze to death out there. Or failing that, pick up the phone to Paddy and go, get your little bottom back here as fast as possible. OK, right, where are we? Did you go out with Nicole Appleton? Did anything happen on that night? Tell me the truth, because I'll find out. OK? Are we getting divorced? Are we staying together? End of story. That's all that matters. Couldn't care less about anything else. If he has cheated, if he did spend the night with Nicole in a London hotel, because she certainly didn't go back to her place, the press were waiting. Because they'd seen her out on the town. Loads of people got pictures of them. He made no attempt to disguise himself in Soho. Don't get me wrong, I think he's great. I love him. But if you're going to cheat on your wife, that takes on... It's like the Jason Manford thing. Show us your boobs. All that kind of... You start thinking, these people must be thick as bricks. Somebody's going to dob them in, aren't they? And in case of Paddy, loads of people in Soho went, we've just seen Paddy, and we've just seen him walking around, and he's with Nicole Appleton, and then he goes and stays in a hotel, and apparently by himself, but he was off his trolley. How does he know? How does he remember? How does he sort of come up with it? I don't know. But, just ask straightforward questions. Are you having an affair? Did you have an affair? Did you have a one-night stand? Perfectly straightforward questions, but nothing to do with us. OK? Nothing to do with us. Paul Burrell, Boar of the First Order, the servant for Diana, claims he talks to the Queen when he wants to. He said he can get through to the Queen quicker than he can get through to his agent. I'm surprised you have an agent, dear. Very surprised. Also, the Gran, who went abroad and came back without any nipples. To be honest with you, you'd think you'd know, wouldn't you, really? Something to hang lights on. She says, don't risk going abroad for cheap plastic surgery. I shall heed that advice, dear. I shall not go abroad for plastic surgery. Mainly because I wouldn't dream of going abroad. I wouldn't dream of going abroad for plastic surgery. I would rather have it here if I was going to have it. And if I was going to have plastic surgery, it's because I believe that I need it, either for some, reason of insecurity or I'm not happy with the way so. But I'd never go. I've seen people have all sorts. Well, I haven't seen, but I've heard you can have penis enlargement. Who wakes up for breakfast and goes, do you know, I think today penis enlargement and I'm going to go to Russia. And you look down the list and people are doing it because it's cheap. They're doing it because it's cheap. A lot of people have their teeth done in Poland because dentistry is cheaper over there. But I wouldn't let anybody cut my face about. That'd drive you mad. Somebody cuts your face about in Turkey, and they had a guy the other day, and then you look at Katie Price and you think you look good? No, you're body dysmorphic. Not good. Deaths from people messing about with tramadol have doubled. So I'm glad that girl was locked up in Egypt, thank you. And also, you'll have to help me out on this one, because I didn't know they did this. The pub steak crisis has hit Nando's as well, because Nando's do a steak. I wasn't aware that they did a steak. I thought they just did chicken. I thought that was the whole idea. Very expensive chicken, but chicken nevertheless. Oh, what is it today? It's Pancake Day. And so everywhere, all over the country, mum will be making up the batter. Or failing that, you'll just go to Iceland, buy a bottle, which has got powder in it. You add water. I think you add water to it, yeah. And then you just shake it up, like shake. And then you pour it into the frying pan and you make your own frying pan pancakes, whereas I just go to a supermarket, pick up a packet of ready-made pancakes and walk out again. Do not put anything else on them apart from lemon juice and sugar. Nothing else. All these silly adverts on the telly, people putting chocolate spread on this. No, you're not to have it isn't traditional just to put lemon juice on. Get a lemon, squeeze it. Not a Jif lemon, just a proper lemon. You know, squeeze it out there and then put it over there, a little bit of sugar, and that's how you make pancakes. I mean, the idea of actually making it, if you've got a family, it's a waste of time. Go and buy the ready-made ones. Don't be so tight and stingy about it. Gemma's passed her use-by date. The rude, offensive woman on the television. One of our leading critics, Ali Ross, has said she's just offensive. She shouldn't be put on television. He doesn't know why they keep putting her on there. They think she's good value, and she's sort of playing, like Jade Goody did. Jade Goody played thick. She was thick, take my word for it, but then after went, oh, she's so funny, East Anglia, and all that kind of stuff, and so she then started playing up to it. Joey Essex, you don't hear from him now. His career's finished completely. He has nothing to do with it. Occasionally he pops up and we go, oh, God. It was a one-trick pony. Gemma Collins was a one-trick herd of horses, and it didn't work. So on the 2 dates she's had on this silly little programme, which is just a way of making money, it's got nothing to do with her finding a date. She can't. She's got Arj to go and have sex with if she wants to, or any one of a number of old has-beens. And so she goes on there. Some bloke criticises her. She walks, as I would, as every one of you would do. You walk into a restaurant. Hello, excuse me. I'm Gemma Collins. Yeah, we know you are, love. OK, you don't need to introduce yourself. You're late. So she goes, yeah? And he goes, you're late. It's rude. So she stands up and walks off. I wouldn't even have got as far as letting the fat bird sit down. I'd have been up, walking out the door as she passed me, and she'd go, are you my date? I go, not now, love, you're late. Sit by yourself, which is how you're going to be for the rest of your life. Why do these people think that, you know, being late is fashionable? It's rude. There used to be Elizabeth Taylor. Well, I say there used to be Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, there was Elizabeth Taylor. She was fashionably late. Naomi Campbell, fashionably late. No, just rude. Just rude and offensive. Naomi Campbell could be hours late for something. I'd have just packed it up. She turned up something. They did a feature in, might have been in some magazine, and they said, here we all are at Claridge's, waiting, makeup artist, hair with the extensions to glue in and all the rest of it. And it was very interesting that she sort of gets there, and they all sit there. It's like 2 hours late. Didn't turn, you know, she was late. And so then she eventually turns up, goes up to her suite. She's only a stick insect with a pair of boobs on it who models clothes. And then she decided to go out shopping for a bit. She's walking out the door going, you're cancelled, love. Thank you. Pack everything up, push her out the door, couldn't care less. She was supposed to come in conversation. I'm standing downstairs waiting, and they're sort of phoning her. And the time she was supposed to be here, she was still at home. She was that rude. Apparently she couldn't come in because she was tired. Oh, diddums. But anyway, she managed to turn up for, I think, Loose Women or something like that, where they had to fawn and brown-nose her, like there was no... Not me, thank you very much indeed. I'd never want to interview the old bag ever again. Rude and offensive. Elizabeth Taylor, you'd be sitting there waiting for ages, and she'd be like 2 or 3 hours late. And you go, I'm sorry, that's just rude. Take a hint from the royal family. The Queen is there at 10:32. She'll be there at 10:32. You know, she will leave at 10:48 precisely. It's all timed down. Elizabeth Taylor, some very average little actress, you know, famous in her younger days and then famous for marrying loads of men. As Conrad Hilton said about Elizabeth Taylor, every man should have the opportunity of sleeping with her. And at the rate she's going, they all will. And that's what she was. She was the bicycle of Hollywood. And she made the films, and, you know, in fact, even when she was very old and she couldn't move anywhere, she still made a film. I talked to somebody who went to her house. He said it was like a mausoleum. It was just very dusty. And it was the sort of place you'd expect someone like Elizabeth Taylor. But it's just rude. If somebody said, you know, this programme starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm here in advance of 4 in the morning. You know, some presenters I've heard of, you know, literally the programme starts and they're walking through the door as the music's playing. How rude. What an insult to the people who've decided to sort of get up early or get up late or something. I did know somebody who used to literally walk through the door of the studio as the theme tune was playing. I, of course, have never had a theme tune. I lie, actually. I have had theme tunes over the year. Mainly the most popular one was The Bitch Is Back for some reason. I can't understand why that was ever popular. Not on this programme. Anyway, we take your texts and emails. If you're a new listener, then you're especially welcome today. You might have bought from Oxfam. You might have donated to Oxfam. You might have decided you don't want anything to do with Oxfam ever again. You might be thinking as well that Meghan's secret visits to comfort the Grenfell victims is kind of a little bit too blooming late. What's the point of sending her down there? I'm sorry, Meghan Markle's turned up to comfort you. What? How long ago was that? And she's turned up now? No, something wrong there. Oh, the Madeleine McCann police want more money. They've already had about 13 million. I have to be honest, if I was Madeleine McCann's parents, I'd be calling for it too. But as a realistic person in the real world and not swayed by anything at all, I'm thinking they're not any closer. There are no new leads. They've got nothing at all. So I think now we stop the money. Because we now know that the McCanns have got 750,000. Well, you go and spend your money. You go and do it. You're not going to find her. I would like to think that you would. But I'm realistic to think if the police have been over there, the Portuguese police have done everything, nobody can find her. There's not a clue. There is nothing. So what are they going to waste more money on? Just sitting there, perhaps jetting over to Praia da Luz? You know, that's what it's all about. But they're nowhere near finding Madeleine McCann, which is a great shame, actually. She just vanished. Zag said, pancake day every day in my house. Oh. I don't think you should eat pancakes every day. It's sugar, isn't it? Sugar and something and everything. I did have a packet the other day. And, Steve, I do have a soft spot for Paddy, but white shoes, no looky, no likey, says Ian. I just can't understand why. He's got a gorgeous wife. He's got 3 lovely children. Perhaps this marriage breakup has been on the cards for some time, which we're now led to believe has been on the cards for some time. Because once people, you know, sort of go down that, once you fall out of love with somebody, and I speak from experience, you can't stand them. Seriously, there is no point at all. You know, I've been out with people in the past, and obviously not recently, unless they've got their own jigsaw and they've got no mortgage, in which case, you know, they stand a fighting chance. But the rest of them, nothing at all. And I get offers every day. I mean, seriously, I can climb on the bus and get offers. It's as easy as that. It's not difficult for me. Why? Because I'm a huge, huge star. I'm very lucky to be on the radio at 4 a.m. till 7, and people think, oh, I'd like to go out with him. Well, think again. It's not going to be happening in a leap year or any other time. Valentine's Day, I get inundated with cards, flowers, champagne, the usual sort of thing. You know, all people want is a little piece of the action. You know what I'm saying? Well, there is no action. This body gave up years ago. As I say, I'm just as happy sitting at home, half a bottle of Prosecco that's probably gone flat, you know, if you can't manage to finish it all, and a cup of cocoa. And I'm quite happy. Although I do think 4 teaspoonfuls of cocoa powder is slightly excessive. But that's what it says, so I put 4 teaspoons in. And at the moment, I'm quite happy with things. You know, if I want to have a sausage, I'll have a sausage. If I want a Frankfurter, I'll have a Frankfurter. If I want some Uncle Ben's rice, I'll do it. I don't want somebody... And if you want to go out, you go out. I don't want somebody sitting there going, where are you going? I'm going out. Out where? I'm just going out. Oh, well, I cooked this evening. Well, eat it then. You know, I think it's going to come to blows. So I'm not remotely bothered about this relationship malarkey. It never goes well. And if Paddy's relationship has been on the cards for some time as collapsing, that's their business. It's really got nothing to do with us, but unfortunately, because of our insatiable appetite as to everything that celebrities do, you know, after poor old Chloe Talentless Maidley came up with, we have sex every night. I mean, I was sticking my fingers down my throat trying to vomit. You know, the idea that little tiny girl who thinks she's some sort of celebrity is having sex every night. I mean, do you do that to make your mother feel a bit awful about things? Or are you doing it to make your brother Jack feel as though he's not really trying it? Or are you doing it because you're just an incredibly stupid little show-off? What is it? You know, do explain this to me. I really don't know. Still to come, the couple who converted their garage into a house. And they thought that nobody had noticed. They still had the garage door there. You pull the door down, and there is the door, the windows, and everything. And I thought to myself, well, that's a bit clever, but no, you have to go to court and you have to be fined. So about 3,000 quid. So ha 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 ha. Also, the trans checkout operator who worked in Poundland in Oxford Street. Apparently, people were taking the mickey out of her and sort of saying things like when she was using the ladies' toilet, oh, there's no girls in here and that kind of stuff. I mean, they're either incredibly thick in Poundland in Oxford Street. Anyway, she took him to court. She got 50 grand 50 grand. I mean, I think it's worth more than that, but if I was the manager of the store, I'd have fired every single one of those buffoons who works there. You wouldn't be working there ever again. I might go in there, actually, dressed as a woman one time. No, that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Because then I look like Susan Boyle. And, both of us do look ridiculous dressed as women. Still to come, Noel's house potty. He claims trees talk to each other. The producer laughed. I said, excuse me? Prince Charles talks to plants. I talk to plants. Just because you can't have conversations because you don't speak Dutch elm, or you don't speak lime, or you don't speak oak, not to say it doesn't happen. Why do you think in the wind the trees bend? They're coming in to talk to each other. Like, cling on, cling on. Everything talks to each other. Rap, you talk to cats? You talk to cats? Well, ha, 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 ha. Why do you think they understand you? Hello, come on. And the cat's going, I don't know what you're saying. No idea, not a clue. Is there any food? Do we have food? Should we play ball? Where's the food? Where's the bloody food? Give us the food or I'm going to walk out the cat flap and you'll never see me ever again. See? You talk to cats. I talk to plants. Every year on my patio, I talk to all the pots and go, you will be big, won't you, this year? It's always that time the neighbours come out and they start saying, what's he doing? He's talking to the blooming plants again. Poor soul. 20 minutes past 4. 22 minutes past 4. It's a freezing cold morning in London town. I'm not sure about my driver this morning. I don't want to talk out of turn, but he picked me up, we were all right, and then we slowed right down. And we kept doing this slowing right down bit, and I kept thinking, I thought we were going to park in the middle of the 316. At one point, I got slow, and then I thought, maybe he's tired. If you work nights, sometimes people do get tired. It is totally feasible. And we at one point we were coming in and we slowed down at green traffic lights. I thought, he's not going to stop at green traffic lights, please. But then we did go through, we sort of kangarooed in. It was an interesting experience, I promise you. Steve, I've tried maple syrup for the first time, says Christine. Delicious with hot pancakes as a treat, only every now and then. Yes, I agree. You should never eat maple syrup. It's just sugar, isn't it? What is maple syrup? Is it like honey? It's like honey, isn't it, maple syrup? Or is it from maples? I'm only guessing because I'm a bit stupid when it comes to things like that. It's only because it doesn't enter my cuisine. It's such a thing as a maple tree, and then they crush down their nuts at maple syrup. So it's made from the sap of sugar maple, red maple, or black maple trees. Good heavens above! And so in the cold climates, these trees store starch, and in their roots, and it's converted to sugar. Blah blah blah. Oh, sorry. So it's was first by the indigenous peoples. And the practice adopted by... Is that where they used to almost... when they used to collect rubber off trees, and they do a slit in the side of the tree, and they put a little cup hanging there, and it all drips into it. Do they do maples roughly the same sort of thing? They drill into it, and then it just drips out. Oh, right. So they put a little cup there, and it drips into the cup. Oh, right. I'm so glad I've never drunk it. Sounds vile. Sounds horrible. Well, of course the Canadians do. Have you ever been to Canada? They all come here. They're looking to marry princes and stuff like that, if they've got a little series going on Canadian television. It's very cold over there. I know it's very cold at the moment. So Quebec is the largest producer, 70% of the world's output. Good God, 487 million Canadian dollars. Wow, I've never had it. I can actually hold my hands up, mainly because it sounds very, very sweet. I probably couldn't have it. And also, it just doesn't... It's funny, things like that don't interest me. It's like treacle, black treacle. My mother always used to keep treacle and black treacle in the cupboard, and occasionally I would look at it, but I never, ever took a little spoon, because you couldn't just take a little spoonful, because it just stuck to it, and it was horrible. And I've heard of sausages cooked in maple syrup. I mean, it just sounds like a heart attack on a plate. Not for us diabetics, eh, Mike? Oh, dear, we couldn't do stuff like that. That would drive us mad. Drive us absolutely mad. Would you like to go to Harry's wedding? No? What for? I've been to weddings before. I know what goes on. Do you take this person? Do you take that person? How much money they got? Are you up the duff? No. Any person have any cause or just impediment why they should not be lawfully joined together in marriage? Let him now declare it. Okay, I now declare you man and wife. Goodbye. Thank you. Please don't throw confetti. We've got a funeral. I mean, how much more stuff do you want to know about it? Wake up at 4 a.m, can't go back to sleep, says Sophie. Switch on LBC naturally and come across the Steve Allen Show. Oh, my God. You're hilarious. Need more presenters like you. Oh, no, we don't. Oh, no. That would be a disaster. Can you imagine if you actually had a radio station where one presenter was they go, oh, that's a very funny presenter, and then other presenters started copying that presenter. I was always told be original. Once you start copying another presenter, I mean, you've lost the plot. lost the plot. It's just too embarrassing. Too embarrassing. You know, you say, it's like sounding like. At one time, lots of radio presenters wanted to sound like Roger Scott, so it was all yeesh, because Roger Scott, like that. And you'd think to yourself, that was very good, but I never wanted to be a Roger Scott sound-alike. I didn't know what I wanted to be, actually. To be honest, I wasn't too sure what sort of presenter I was going to be, because it never came into it. All I knew was the microphone light came on, and somebody goes, speak, now, talk. And you go, right. And then after a while, you learn how to do it. Believe it or not, it is an art, I'm told, because not everybody can do what I do, but there again, I can't do what they do either. So it works both ways. Some people sort of think, oh, I could be like Steve Allen. And then somebody would go, oh, I wouldn't want to be like Steve Allen. I think you'd want the career and the money. You'd definitely want the career and the money. You know, it's no good coming into the business now and sort of copying somebody else. You've got to be original. Got to be very, very original, do it, and make sure that people believe it. Because once the great British public, if the public believe you, and if they believe what you're saying is true, you've got an audience for life. Because they buy into what you stand for. I don't say anything just for an effect. I'm not a shock jock. Somebody says, you sure you weren't ever a shock jock? I said, never a shock jock. I don't say anything for an effect. Everything I say, I wholeheartedly believe in. So when I tell you, I think, Sally, what's-her-face, you know, oh, he's here, darling, you know, and I tell you I think that's rubbish, that's my opinion. That's my opinion. If I don't happen to like something, I tell you I don't like it. If there's a television programme I don't like it. Now that Danny Dyer's daughter has opted out of the second-rate version of Love Island, apparently they're now thinking of putting her into Love Island. How desperately sad and tragic she must be. Gemma Collins, past it. Nobody's going to be going out with her, nobody's interested. But there again, she doesn't want to go out with anybody. She has no interest. She's doing it because it's money. She needs to save as much money because very shortly this thing's going to collapse like a pack of cards, I promise you. Noel's house potty, as I say, he claims trees talk to each other. Of course they do. You can see vibrating leaves. That's talking. I mean, they don't actually sit there and go, oh, I had a dreadful day yesterday. I thought they were going to cut me down, but they didn't. You know. Also, Donald's wife held over a spy camera that they found at the house. It's a bit bizarre, isn't it, really? A spy camera in the house. I mean, we are cameraed up at home. We have 16 cameras. Every inch of the property is covered, and it's recorded. So if anything happens, we can we sue. Absolutely. The Valentine's Day crackdown on benefit cheats. It's a good one, isn't it? I like the benefit cheat crackdown. It always amuses me. Plus, I've got to find out more about this one. This is the French rocker Johnny Hallyday, who left nothing to the daughter he dedicated his most famous song to. Isn't that odd that, you know, people will do that, and then they go out with somebody else, and it turns out to be the last woman he married. It's her children who end up. I had a good laugh this morning, Steve, watching all the Uber drivers, totally lost with the closure of Charing Cross Road at the Hippodrome, getting my own back for all the times that they've cut me up or stopped dead in front of me to pick up a fare. Can't beat local knowledge like I have to get you round. Morning, Spikers. Thank you. Steve, tired. Gemma Collins is rude, ignorant. I don't know why she's on television. Waste of time, says Dave. Waste of space with a load of makeup. It's because she thinks that she's playing the game for them. They go, you're a bit of a diva, aren't you? She goes, I'm GC. And she hangs around with that very camp little effect called Bobby Cole Norris, who's another one who, frankly, I wouldn't give you threepence for. Sad, tragic, desperately lonely. Another one who's desperately can't find anybody. And the reason they can't find anybody is because they're naff. Gemma Collins is naff. You know, if somebody calls you a diva, you'd laugh it off and go, do you think so? I don't know. Would I don't understand. You know, she stands up and has like a Queenie fit, and I think, you're just badly acting, dear. That's why you're talentless. That's why people laugh at you. They're not laughing with you. When you fell down that trapdoor, we wet ourselves laughing. Seriously, I was hoping it was a bigger drop, but it turned out not to be. LBC News now. 4:30 with the latest headlines this morning, and I'm almost on time. So Paul Burrell, going into the Australian I'm a Celebrity Get Me Out of Here, which of course he's not, claims he talks to the Queen whenever he wants to. Of course you do, darling. Yes, I'm sure you do. As long as you believe it, that's fine. 84850 steve@lbc.co.uk. We'll weave everything in on the programme for this morning. So the story about Oxfam just builds, doesn't it? I mean, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Now the deputy has quit as the charity fights the fallout from the sex scandal. Now it turns out that workers offered aid for sex. I mean, it's almost, you couldn't believe it. I almost believe... Might be wrong, but I almost believe that we're seeing the end of Oxfam, the charity. Seriously, how it can recover from sex claims, underage prostitutes in Haiti, and somebody who works for the charity who's paying underage prostitutes, which incidentally is illegal, not just the fact they're underage, but prostitution is illegal. And then you get the story about abuse rife in the Oxfam shops. Workers abroad offered aid for sex, damning proof the charity ignored warnings. 123 claims of sexual harassment. 123 claims of sexual harassment in the high street in a charity shop. You see, even I can't get my head around that one. You must be feeling the same if you give it to... I've now decided that until all this mess is cleared up, I'm going nowhere near an Oxfam shop. I'm sorry, it's as simple as that. That's my decision. You can obviously make up your own decision on what you want to do. You don't have to do it. You don't have to give to Oxfam if you don't want to. That's your choice. My choice is I don't want to go anywhere near their shops. I don't like that modus operandi. Once it's been cleared up and they justify it, fine. But unfortunately, I think in this particular case, it's going to stick. Don't you think so? It's going to stick. Oh, by the way, bad news. There's going to be a Valentine's Day edition of Loose Women. I don't know what that is. I've got no idea. But they're all going to... Have you noticed everybody on the panel, they've all got something the matter with them. They've all had sort of issues, body dysmorphic or this or drugs or whatever it happens to be. Anyway, they're going to do a special Valentine's Day edition with some men on the panel. I say men. They've got Gok Wan. They've got Jamie Lomas, so I can't remember who he is, but he apparently appeared on a reality show. He's somebody, I don't know. Kem Ketanay, who's the little hairdresser from Essex, whose claim to fame is that they think he's going to be a big star. Jamie Lomas was in EastEnders. All right, not anymore. Oh, never mind, he's going to be on Loose Women. And the other one is the one who every time he turns up on the table, we all go, oh, God, not him again. Peter Andre. Can't they find anybody else? Is it really that desperate? You've got to have some poor old has-been like Peter Andre to... What for? You know what he's like? He's going to be sitting there, he'll play with his hair, he'll do the usual sort of creepy bit about, oh, when I first saw Emma, I really liked her, and all this, and I'm thinking, oh, shut up. Nothing worse. Even his poor little Chicka Chick R programme is shoved away on a channel you've never heard of. So at least we don't get him on mainstream, so that's very good. Very good. Maple syrup is high in sugar, but also very nutritious. Contains vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. You can also buy maple water, which contains the nutrients, but only 2% sugar. Sounds vile. 2 lots of Steve Allen. Steve, the airwaves couldn't handle it, says Jim. Yeah, I absolutely agree. You could imagine having, 2 lots of a similar presenter. There's nothing original in radio nowadays. You work for a music station, you get sort of shorter links because the idea is people are listening to the music. That's what they want to hear. They want to hear you playing the music. They want to hear the tunes. On LBC, you want to hear what the news stories are. You want to hear people's opinions. Because unlike BBC Local Radio, we have opinions. They're not allowed on BBC Local Radio to have opinions. They don't have opinions. So every time you hear somebody on Question Time, you'll never see somebody just say, and your thoughts are, and they'll go to the audience and they go, thank you very much indeed, and they move on. They don't have a thought. They're not allowed to have an opinion on anything. Well, that's what they say. Steve, what exactly do they do next with the bomb? The bomb that they removed yesterday, says Dave. I think they set fire to it. Isn't it gone? It's been blown up under the river tonight. God knows what that's going to... You imagine all the fish swimming around there who are going to be thrown up in the air going, what the... And all the stuff it's going to unearth from the river. That's what it is. But a lot of people have said, I'm not moving, I'd rather stay there. So let's hope it doesn't blow up in your... It's going to be awfully messy, isn't it? I don't know how they do things like that. I don't know how big the bomb is. Is it a very big bomb? Quite big. Isn't it amazing that we've still got bombs around the capital that sort of came down during the war and then they got sort of covered over and then nothing set them off, except for tonight. That's going to be a firework display, isn't it? That'll set off metre and a half long. That's quite big, isn't it? Imagine all the car alarms going to be going off depending on what time they do it. It'll be good. Perhaps you can cover it over with a bit of tissue paper or something so it doesn't make too much mess. Steve, I sat at the next table to Johnny Halliday at a lakeside restaurant in Annecy. He smoked continuously. Most unpleasant, says Pat. Oh, all the French smoke. All the Italians smoke. Everybody smokes, don't they? I'm one of the few people who doesn't smoke nowadays. But there again, I'm not particularly bothered about smoking. Occasionally I sort of think, oh, I'd like a cigarette. Because I watched somebody smoking the other day. I was watching Billy Elliot again, just because I think it's brilliant. And it was the live version. And to watch a few people smoking in that, I thought, you imagine if you're not a smoker, but they go, can you smoke for the purposes of the part? I'd have to say no. because I'd be worried that I get really, really addicted back to cigarettes again. And I don't want to go there, thank you very much indeed. So here we go. It's you thought you only needed lemon and sugar on Pancake Day. They've got a burger in batter, and they've tested chocolate pancakes, rainbow-covered pancakes, flipping fluffy souffle pancake. Why do we eat pancakes on Jif Pancake Day, or whoever's Pancake Day it is? What's the point of it? What is the point of it? It's Shrove Tuesday. What have pancakes got to do with it? I don't know. Eat slowly and enjoy your food. Apparently, that's how you keep weight off. And at last, consumer giant takes on Facebook and Google over web hate. Unilever threatens to withdraw millions in advertising. Wow. Because they've threatened Facebook, Twitter and Google that they will pull advertising if Facebook, Twitter and Google fail to clamp down on extremist and illegal material. Wow. So there you go. They're fighting back. They're fighting back, which I think is actually quite good. There's too much stuff on there, isn't there, really? Bosses ignored the abuse warnings, unmasking the aid workers so we can put them on trial, say the minister. Yeah, and let's see who these people are. Who are these people who've been hiding? We've seen it before. This is nothing new. Do not ever think that, whatever's going on at Oxfam or might have gone on at Oxfam is something totally unique. It's not. It happens in charity. It happens in children's homes. Many, many children's homes over the years have found themselves taken to court because of the people who want to abuse children going to work inside them. And it can be married couples. At one time you say, oh, right, it's going to be men over a certain age. No. Just as likely to be women nowadays. And they've got all sorts of emails. Whether they're genuine, I've got no idea, but they've named them. Penny Lawrence has resigned, and they've got some from Helen Evans as well, and Mark Goldberg. And this could be the end of Oxfam as we know it. What they might have to do is close it down and then open up as something else. I mean, that I can't, or align with another charity so somebody can keep an eye on it. It's too easy, isn't it? Also, inside the Caligula Orgy Apartments, this is 6 bedrooms, a 25-foot swimming pool, and half-naked girls in Oxfam T-shirts. How the aid team partied like emperors in the charity's villa. And they also hosted parties for relatives, but it was in relative luxury. It's beginning to sound just all a bit revolting, isn't it? I'm not happy with the situation at all. Doctors have been told now, don't hug patients. I've never been hugged by a doctor. Anybody else listening been hugged by... Who wants to be hugged by a doctor? I've been in hospital loads of times. Loads of times. I've never been hugged by anybody. If anything, they just say, nice to see you, and they shake your hand. Well, I've never been hugged by a doctor, so I don't know. But they're being urged not to comfort patients in case they complain. The Medical Defence Union suggests if they wish to comfort a patient, they offer a handshake to avoid embarrassment. Well, I've only ever seen that. I've never seen doctors come up and start hugging you. What would that be like? There'd be a little bit of grooming. No, we don't do stuff like that. Definitely not. More on the Grand Canyon trip to catastrophe and the people who walked away from the helicopter. I mean, amazing how some people survived and some people didn't. I find it unbelievable. America bids to send the Beatles jihadis back to Britain. The minister says over here, we don't want them. Why can't we just hang them? I'm sorry, if these people are found responsible for the murders, I just sort of think these are mass murderers. Why would we bother keeping them in prison? Definitely not. No, let's hang them. It's so much easier. But they only become martyrs if we tell people we've hanged them. If we just hang them and then go, oh, we don't know which prison they've gone to, nobody will know about it. But they're not. They'd be going straight to hell anyway, wouldn't they? Absolutely. Is good sex in marriage a risk? I would think, is sex in marriage a risk? Very lucky in marriage to actually get sex. Imagine you're married and you've got children and you're having sex. A rarity in this day and age. A rarity. Also, self-pity of a monster. This is so-called... Ian Huntley says he's sorry for his sickening crimes, bleats about boredom and bad food in jail. But as I say, I couldn't care. He could die in prison. I'm not remotely bothered about Ian Huntley. Thank you very much indeed. Disgusting person. Also, this is an interesting one. A woman who posted on Facebook that her ex-husband tried to kill her is now facing a legal bill of more than £200,000 after losing an appeal against a libel ruling. This woman claimed that her husband, during an online exchange, threatened to kill her and all the rest of it. And the judge said the libel was not trivial and assessed compensation at £5,000, although the ex-husband didn't want a penny. But they decided that she's going to have to pay his court bills. Because, as I pointed out to people before, you can't say something about somebody that isn't true. They'll have you for libel. You know, like on the radio. You know, if I sort of make something up about, you know, whoever it happens to be, then they can sue for libel. You know, if I've libelled them. But it's highly unlikely. Inmates in prison are being given acupuncture to help them sleep better. Oh, sweet, isn't it? Nice to know we're still treating prisoners so well. The bomb is taken out to sea and blown up by Shoebury Ness, just up from Southend. Oh, God, I hope it doesn't do any damage to Southend. That would be tragic, wouldn't it? You could actually get rid of Southend in one quick push of a button, and then we could build something we liked. Only joking. Only joking. He says you can hear the boom for miles around, says Ian. He says, I know this because I live damn close. Keep it quiet. The Royal Navy has asked Gemma Collins to sit on the bomb tonight to dampen the explosion. Very cruel. That's very cruel. You know damn well it's, you know, she couldn't. I mean, we'd never hold her underwater that long, would we? We could have a try, I suppose. Have a try. It almost becomes like a joke cartoon, isn't it? You know, but then, of course, she'd think that was good publicity. Queued up behind Gemma Collins in Waitrose in Buckhurst still a little while ago, says Colin, while she was paying for her trolley load of health food. Not. She spoke on her mobile phone the whole time in a loud voice. Very rude. Yes, I'm like shopping. Yeah? All right, I'll just see you later. OK, this is GC signing off. It's like that. It's, you know, it's pathetically useless. But hopefully she'll take on board all the criticism and do something about it. But unfortunately, as an old woman of 36 who still can't find a boyfriend apart from a little bit of regular, then that's it. Airlines flout the ban on fees for using a credit card. I don't like to use credit cards. It's like when I go into a certain shop or certain shops, they always ask me, do you have a so-and-so card? No, I haven't. Would you like one? No, I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't. Thank you very much indeed. Also, we're all in the Billionaire Pony Club, and they've got Steven Spielberg's daughter is called Destry. Destry. Have you ever heard of that? Also, Ariana Rockefeller. See, that's the name to have, Rockefeller. Have that on your checkbook, much easier. Hannah Selick. That's Tom. It's not as exciting, is it really? Eve Jobs. That's Steve Jobs' daughter. She's 20. She's very pretty. Also, Sophia Abramovich. Yeah, not really that excited. Jessica Springsteen. So Athena Onassis. She inherited all her mother's money, estimated about $2 billion. And as I say, that carries a good name. Charlotte Cassirai, daughter of Monaco's Princess Caroline and granddaughter of film star Grace Kelly. Wealth estimated at $4 billion. Wow, but these people don't go and do what we do. If we had 4 billion, people don't do things like that, do they? They don't sort of go, well, I've got 4 billion in the bank account, I can go and spend money today. They just carry on doing things in the way that they want to. And of course, Sophia Abramovich, not that Abramovich understands anything about horse racing or anything else. He's just a former market trader who's got a load of money. And he's got a football club, that's it. I think it's the women that he hangs around with, who are the ones who try and bring him the class. Apparently, if you book a flight with a debit card compared with a credit card, there's a bit less legal protection if things go badly, and it could end up being cancelled. Okay, so if you book a flight with a debit card compared with a credit card, there's a little bit less legal protection. Yeah, you need the credit card, don't you? And also, if it's over £100, then they sort it out for you. So you have been told. Still to come, the open and shut case of the illegal house hidden by a garage door. Yes, who are the two idiots who decided to cheat the planning laws? We'll tell you. Papers are full today of Valentine's Day things, which is flowers, chocolates, meals. I mean, for example, here's a rough idea. You can buy in Morrison's a True Love bouquet. Okay, this is a few roses. Very nice. They all look very nice. They all look the same to me. And why red? I've got no idea. You know, I'd much rather see a multicoloured bouquet or pink or whatever it is. Anyway, you can get this lovely bouquet here, the True Love, £35. Okay, but you can go to Morrison's and for £15, If you don't want to buy their 35 bouquet, they'll do a bouquet at a £5. You can get a choice of starters, a main course which looks chicken and a side dish, a dessert and a bottle of Prosecco for £15. I mean, that looks like a meal for one, actually, as far as I'm concerned, but they think it's a meal for two. Or you can get 100 roses for £25. 100 roses for £25. I mean, it makes you wonder, doesn't it, really, how much the poor people who are picking these things are getting paid at the other end. Now, on to the house. This is a couple. One is a doctor, obviously as bent as they come. I mean, this is totally illegal. They disguised a small secret home as a garage. In fact, it was a garage that they converted into a little house. And this was in an attempt to deceive the planners. This is Dr. Rita Herzala and her partner, Hamdi Al-Masri, flouted the planning laws. What they did, they built, behind a fake garage door, a house. They used a fence to hide the house that had been converted from an old garage at the property in Leicestershire. They've been under investigation since October 2015. They're a pair of Benties, as we know, and they've now been ordered to pay more than £2,000. I think it was about £700 each, plus they had to pay court costs. After failing to attend court or enter pleas, they're that bent, they were convicted of a raft of planning breaches in their absence. I mean, I love the way that people go, I'm not turning up. Well, you've been fined, haven't you? £700 each, £1,252 in legal costs and a £77 victim surcharge. They've now got to restore the garage to its former use. The couple had created an unauthorised vehicle access onto a dual carriageway. After receiving reports, the council, who are called Blaby, approached Herzala and Al-Masri in an attempt to rectify. The pair submitted a retrospective planning application that was rejected and dismissed on appeal by the Planning Inspectorate. And so what they did was they moved the fencing around. They deliberately tried to do it. They undertook in May and June some remedial work, which included removing some of the excess fencing. However, following up inspections in July, August, November, showing how much money the council wasted on this pair of crooks, it showed that no work had been done to the garage, leaving the council to seek prosecution. So the council's cabinet member is Councillor Sheila Scott. She said, the message is clear. If you breach planning regulations and ignore us, we will not just go away, but we will in fact pursue it. This bent couple did it to try and hide the garage. But in fact, once you take down the door, there is a front door. There are two windows. I mean, they're quite clearly crooks. So I'm glad they got fined. You know, it's a miserable place to live. It's the size of a garage. It's tiny. It is the size of a... I mean, I couldn't get my car in this garage, but I'd like to try driving it through the front door. I mean, that'd be good. And they've even got a letterbox there, but they put up a fake garage door over the front to fool the council. And presumably all their neighbours must be going, what they're doing? Oh, they're probably going to move somebody in and rent it out, because they're crooks. And she's a doctor. Wow. That's not good, is it, really? But anyway, they've been fined for it. So I was quite pleased about that, actually. I've got another good story, which I quite like. Scientists are trying as fast as... I've also got a story about gypsies with an aversion to bricks who've won a green belt law. And also, the good news is that for these particular gypsies, they wanted to be near the school for their children. I thought the whole idea was that they don't do school. I thought that's the whole idea. I remember I've seen My Big Fat Gypsy Wedding, and the kids don't do school. That's why whenever they went out with the girls, they couldn't read or write. At the age of 14 or 15, they went... Did you remember I told you they went to do paintballing? Which always, to me, looks like a complete thing. And so the guy says, yeah, OK, but for insurance, you've got to fill in your names and addresses. They sat there staring at the form. They could not read or write. So anyway, don't think we're talking out of school on that one. But anyway, they've got an aversion to bricks. It's always a good excuse, isn't it? I've got an aversion to... I've got an aversion. I can't think of anything, actually. I've got an aversion to... So the GC. The GC. Could be, actually, yeah. No, it was... this was a really good story, and it's about scientists, and I can't remember which paper it is in, who've got an opportunity to investigate some ice 120,000 years old, I think in Antarctica, to find out what life was like. Because you know that the ice in Antarctica can be many miles thick. And they've done reconnaissance, air reconnaissance. That's right, yeah. And they've gone down there, and it's miles and miles down, and they've discovered that there is almost, as in Jules Verne's Journey to the Centre of the Earth, they've discovered that there is a huge lake or ocean underneath. And it could be, this particular one is an ecosystem which has been hidden beneath, hold your breath, the Antarctic ice shelf for up to 120,000 years. The iceberg, known as A68, they never give them exciting names, do they? It's A68, is carved off from a long ice shelf in the northwest part of the Weddell Sea, known as the Larsen Ice Shelf, exposing the seabed. Scientists have now got a race against time to study the ecosystem before sunlight starts to affect the surface layers of the sea. And if you look at it, it's amazing. So what they've done, marine biologist Dr. Katrin Linz from the British Antarctic Survey is leading the mission. She said it's very exciting. We've put together a whole load of people. Very important we get there quickly before the undersea environment changes as sunlight enters the water and new species begin to colonise. And so they don't know what's actually underneath it. They've got no idea. The Larsen ice shelf is well known, but they're going to spend 3 weeks. They'll have satellite to monitor and navigate, and then they'll see what's... They could come up with all sorts of things that you've never seen before. They will investigate the sea. They're looking for seafloor animals, plankton, sediments, water samples, and they will also use a sledge pulled along the seafloor to collect tiny animals. Don't you think that's exciting? I think that's absolutely amazing. Also set to blaze past Earth later this week is a 40-metre wide asteroid. Duck! That'll be heading our way, won't it, very quickly? What the dickens is that? Is that a creature from under there? A mysterious creature living under the ice? You'll never see some of these things again. That's Gemma Collins, isn't it? Come on, that's her in a previous life form, an amoeba. And oh, look at the time. But I mean, I love things like that. But I love the idea that the ice is so thick in Antarctica that at least a few miles down there is a lake, or, as they say, it could be a sea with waves and all sorts of things. It's a separate ecosystem. It's Journey to the Centre of the Earth. News at 5 coming up here on LBC in a matter of seconds. Paul Burrell claims he talks to the Queen when he wants to. Jackanory. Noel's house potty. He claims that trees talk to each other. Real fur sold as fake in markets. And Gemma's passed her use-by date. I've been saying it for ages. Now the critics are saying the same thing. And tramadol deaths have doubled. Plus, pub state crisis has now hit Nando's. 13th of February, it's Steve Allen's Early Breakfast on LBC. I don't care whether you're working, whether you're skiving, whether you're ill, you're on holiday. Many of the younger people listening are on holiday. It's exciting, isn't it? I'm trying to find something to do, though. And that, of course, proves a problem for many people nowadays. They've got no idea what to do. What should we do today? I mean, sometimes you see mummies and sons and daughters sitting on the bus and you think, I hope they're going out. I mean, it's not just mummy doing shopping. Danny Dyer turns out to be as boring as her boring, dreary father. Apparently, she did try for a job on the BBC One soap, but she didn't get that because she's a barmaid and she hasn't got any experience. So instead, far better to go on a show where you can get your boobs out and have sex. That's far more, obviously, educational. And so because she's out of Survival of the Fittest, they're now thinking that you can put her on Love Island. God, she must be desperate. She must be desperate. But there again, her father always was a little bit desperate. His track record never so good. You could have put him on Love Island ages ago. But also, she's not a looker. That's the problem. She's plain Jane. Plain Jane, even though she's called Danny. And they say that she wants... Because she's now getting... She's obviously got a publicist. That's why she's getting all this publicity, because otherwise she's nobody. You know, otherwise you might as well go around to any old pub, mightn't you? What do we got here? We got prisoner Charles Bronson plans to buy a croft in Scotland when he's released. What year would that be, darling? When are we looking? Do we have a date for this? He's already browsing homes for sale, according to his best man. The rubbish that gets put out about people in prison. Honestly, he's going to buy a croft. Good, far enough away. Oh, look, fallen off the end, which is lovely. Out on the... the tossers will be out today, won't they? The pancakes. They've got to be very careful. You know why? Because apparently, fear of rain and health and safety. And I don't know about you, but, you know, I have done, over my time, I've tried tossing. It just doesn't... Some people are good at it, and some people aren't. You know, many's the time it's practically been stuck on the ceiling. But they're now saying here that people could get hurt. If it rains, you know why? They're running over grass. And so if you fall over, you might sue. And the Met Office has predicted heavy rain and 40-mile-an-hour winds, so they've axed the race. in Christchurch in Dorset, which raises funds for local charities, and people run down a hill. It's like chasing the cheese down, only this is tossing as you go down, and then at the end they've raised money and people go, fantastic. But the people who organise it go, well, if it's wet and they fall down, they might damage themselves. And I don't quite see the point of this. It just doesn't make any difference, does it? I mean, you know, it's actually done in London. There's the Rehab Parliamentary Pancake Race, where they do toss crepes for charity. And it's organised by the charity Rehab, which helps people with mental and physical disabilities and the vulnerable to rebuild independent lives. And so you've got teams of MPs, lords and members of the press. Again, it'll be the same show-offs that you've seen doing everything else, won't it? You could just imagine who's actually on there. And I haven't recognised any particular tossers looking at it, but I'm assuming Diane Abbott will be in there. Mo Flynn, she's from Rehab. She's the group person. They don't have to toss very far, do they? Naga Manchetti, oh, God. She's at the official starter. She earns more money than Charlie State on the programme, so I was hoping it would have been Charlie State. Here are the people. They're all tossing. There's quite a group of them, actually. Faisal Islam, who's the political editor of Sky News, obviously a little bit desperate to get a little bit more publicity for himself. There's a media team. Tracy Crouch, never heard of her. She's an MP, but never mind, dear, I'm sure you'll get some publicity at some point. Who are the other people? I like to know names on this thing. And so there's Lord John of Bletsoe, again, not a clue, I'm afraid, but we mentioned their names. And who else we got? I can see the start, and then there's people running, tossing as they run. Not many people turned up for it, but it's a good photo opportunity. I don't think they were all tossing. That bloke definitely at the front was not tossing as he was running. That was good. That's definitely a good tosser. That was good there. And lost a hat, poor soul, fell off. But who are the people? I mean, normally it's it is the general show-offs, isn't it? Where they go, yeah, I'm a show-off MP, or I'm a show-off member of the press. Clive Lewis MP. Not a lot you can say about him, is there really? I don't know anything about Clive Lewis MP, but judging by his picture, very high cheekbones. And they've got a little cup, and that makes him presumably best tosser. Steve Pound, I don't mind Steve Pound, I love Steve Pound. Steve Pound sends me a Christmas card every year. Steve Pound and I get, the MPs won, did they? Of course they did. The press would be too piddled, wouldn't they, for doing anything like that. So, we don't know. It's today. Is it today? Oh, great. Want to go? It's Victoria Tower Gardens. It's free. Don't have to pay for it. So if you want to watch a bunch of tossers running round a little course, go down there today. What time it is, I've got no idea. But good luck to everybody. Hope they raise lots and lots of money. 10 o'clock, is it? Got the mine of information, aren't you, this morning? Look at that. You know, 1 minute I say I don't know what time it is, and the next minute he comes right back with 10 o'clock. You know? Of course, it's probably 11 when you just sort of get there, and it's all finished. All finished, I think. Steve, listened to you for years, and I think you're very good. I'm absolutely brilliant. I'd have to be. I'm still here. If only you could learn to spell, that would be easier. You know who that is again, don't you? You know who that one is. Don't we have to check these things? It's so funny. Oh, is it not? Oh. Why is it that spelling is getting worse in this day and age? Why is it that people cannot spell for love nor money? No, I've never seen it spelled like that either. Anne Widdecombe has become an unlikely fashion icon. Of course she has. Nobody wants to look like Anne Widdecombe. Since her appearance, apparently night dresses and handbags, similar to those she had during her time, have seen a surge in sales. Her spokesman said, Anne has had so many inquiries about her nighties and handbags. Yes, I should imagine from peculiar people. Why would you want to inquire about her nightie? That's why she's single. It's the night attire. She's become quite the trendsetter. No, she hasn't. She lost to a drag queen, which means that even as drag, Anne Widdecombe couldn't pull it off. But she did dress up, didn't she, as one of the... She dressed up as something and made a buffoon of herself, but there again, most of her career has been a bit of a buffoon of herself, which is not so good. The sick virus wiping out the Olympics. I watched a bit of the Olympics last night. I watched people doing, I think it must be speed skating, ever so fast. When they turn a corner, why don't they fall over? It's very slippy, that ice. And they have this sort of, this action, and sometimes your hand's behind your back, and then you get, I can do it. I just can't actually do it on the ice. I can do it sort of, I was quite watching that, and I quite enjoyed that bit. I liked the snowboarding. That was quite good, but the rest of it was as boring as hell. I mean, I didn't like the bobsled. It's where you lie on your back, isn't it? Oh, the four of them get in the car. That's right. One sort of jumps in at the last minute. I'd like to see Gemma Collins, the one who sort of jumped in on, as she's, mind you, I don't know if we'd actually get her in one of those things. I more see her on a tea tray, lying on her back. That's skeleton Bob, isn't it? I quite like that. I thought that was actually quite clever. Of course, I'd be crashing into everything on the way down. And you go very fast, and you've literally got to cling on and then just hope that you don't die. Because it's too far. It's on ice. I rest my case. It's on ice. For goodness sake. What have we got here? Steve, the sunken wreck Montgomery is in the estuary off Shoeburyness, the one that would sink Canvey and the surrounding areas. Is it wise, Captain Mannering? Says Mark. I don't know, actually. I don't know anything about the wreck. But listen, I mean, whatever it is, there's going to be a lot of water heading up into the air. Alan Partridge is coming back on television, new TV chat show, and here she is. I didn't even need to answer my own question on this one. It's a picture of somebody who thinks they're glamorous, but her roots really need doing. It's very bad. The trouble is, if you've got really bad roots, like Candice Swanepoel, she looks sizzling as she unveiled her own swimwear range, and she's 29 years old, and she's a Victoria's Secret model. For that reason, she'll get her boobs out for just about anybody, because it's the same as just being page 3. You might as well say they're page 3 girls. That's all they are. To make, when they say Victoria's Secret, it makes them sound classy, but unfortunately, they are just page 3 girls. They just model their underwear. There is a little picture of George Toffolo. Georgie Toffolo, a bit difficult to tell. They've managed to get her into her bra and knickers. So I'm sure her parents must be absolutely thrilled that she's reached the dizzy heights after such a good education of modelling her underwear. The problem is, she's very short and she's not busty. So it's really a bit pointless because there's not even cleavage. And unfortunately the majority of the people who'll be looking at those sort of pictures will be looking for, a little bit busty. But there's no, even if you airbrush cleavage in, it still wouldn't look right at all. I still want to find out from anybody who's been to Nando's, do they do steak? I thought they just did chicken, but apparently the steak crisis, they've just had to bin another load from another supplier because they were worried about the fact that, we might be sort of made ill by this stuff, and now Nando's have ditched this stuff as well. I didn't even know they did steaks. Because in which case I'd probably have a steak with a piece of chicken or something like that, but it's terribly expensive for chicken. I mean, it's really, really expensive. I don't know why all of a sudden chicken has become expensive. Front page of The Sun this morning, inmate tried to slit my throat. This is Ian Huntley. As I say, I couldn't care less about Ian Huntley. I'm not remotely interested in tapes or anything else at all. Paddy's wife's agony over Nicole. This is Nicole. When you read some of the texts she's apparently been sending to him, you suddenly realise she's obviously not to be trusted at all. Noel talks to trees. Producer thinks that's hilarious. But he talks to his cats. How many have you got? 2 or 1? 2. And he talks to them. And the cats haven't got the faintest idea what he's talking about. Seriously, they sort of listen. And he goes, hello, hello. And they go, what's he saying? Yeah. One's very violent. Figures, doesn't it, really? Cats are always like that. A friend of mine's got 2 cats, and one of them is sort of the, I just want to go to sleep, and the other one is, I don't trust you. Just give me food, and I'm going out to go and kill things. And a friend of mine years ago, her cat used to bring stuff back in, like beheaded squirrels and mice and things like that. Oh, dear me. Not so good, is it? Not so good. What else we got here? Steve, Gemma Collins in a bobsleigh. No. She could be the bobsleigh. I don't think she could, actually. Joe says, speaking of ships, Steve, did you know they found the Titanic? I wish people had stopped with this one. I've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that they haven't. This is a made-up internet story that people have put about, and people spreading, and we've said it before, fake news I'm sick to death of. The Titanic, they go, oh, we found the Titanic, Steve, and all the rest of it. And we did a piece on the programme. Regular listeners will know. New listeners will not know that we exposed it as fake news. All this rubbish and, Disney are going to send down a submersible. It was faked. It was done in a tank, I think owned by the RAF or the Navy or something like that in Bushy Park, just in West London. It was faked up. They just did little bits of it, put it all together, and they went, oh, and here's the chandelier, and here's this, and if we go into this cabin, all dummied up. And what they've done is, it wasn't submerged, they shot through a water tank. So in other words, they had a thin piece of tank, they shot through it, and it made it look as though it was. So when you see people going like that, they were pretending They weren't actually in the water. Okay, it was like the moon landings. Exactly. Again, more fake news, more people trying to convince people that we did land on the moon. Have you seen how far it is away? How much petrol would you need to get up there? I mean, it's ridiculous. I can barely get to Southend on half a tank. And people go, oh, we went to the moon. Yeah? Did anybody see the craft going round the moon? No, because it's too far away. It's 5:15. With 5:20 is the time. Do you know that there are... How many addicts to betting machines in the bet shops do you think there might be? This is addicts who are registered as opposed to people who just pop in and play these machines. I did say that these machines take a fortune. They're the high street betting machines. They're all centrally linked, all of them, to one main computer. So you're not playing against the machine, you're playing against the country. An average machine can take between £20,000 and £40,000 a week. That's why most betting shops have at least 3 of them. You know, they're a very, very good source of income. Very good source of income. Well, according to the latest stats, the figures, 120,000 people are addicted to these machines. And you do see people. I've been in a couple of betting... I haven't, to be honest with you, I'll hold my hands up. I did used to play these, not these ones. These are computer machines. I used to play the old-fashioned things where you could hear the wheels going round. And it wasn't a computer. It was, proper machine. But they were fixed. It said, pays out 76%, never my money, pays out somebody else's. And I did used to play them in pubs a long time ago, but I tend not to do that now. I haven't done it for years and years. It's always interesting when I go past a betting shop, there are the same people who are playing on these machines every day. And they will let you put it on your credit card. Or it might be debit card, whatever it is. You go to the counter, you give them the card and you go 50 quid, and they will clock up 50 quid on that machine for you because they can do that from the other side of the counter. And so people play with it. And I've seen people with £1,000 on their win meter, and you think, get out, take the money out, take it away. And then they decide to gamble it. Because you're playing against the country. But there's 120,000 registered addicts, people who are addicted to these things. And you have to ask yourself the question, what is it so addictive about it? Go to Vegas. You want to see addiction? Go to Vegas. You will see, from the moment you get off the aeroplane, people playing fruit machines. They're just obsessed, because they're looking for, is this going to be the time I'm going to pull it and 4 melons are going to come up and £1 million is going to drop out? Because they do have machines that pay $1 million. They have a giant machine. It's $1 a go, or it used to be $1 a go. It could be $5 now. And you put the money in, and you pull the giant handle. And if you win, but there's all sorts of rules. People have done it before. There was a couple years and years ago who went to Vegas, and they had their son, and they didn't know, but they let him pull the handle, and they won $1 million, and the casino wouldn't pay out. And they said, why? And they said, because your son pulled the handle. He's not old enough to play machines. You've got to be, I think, 21 or something like that. And he was only 16. And they went, what? They went, yeah, you should have read the rules. This is a casino. He can wander about the slot machines. He can't go anywhere near the gambling tables. They've got pit bosses who go round and check. And they will throw people out. I've said to friends of mine before when they're going over there, you've got to be 21 to go anywhere near this stuff. But he pulled the handle and they got the $1 million, but they didn't win it. They weren't allowed to have it because he'd pulled the handle. So all these things you have to check, don't you? And also, it's no good then going, oh, I think there's something the matter with the machine and it's all the rest. They don't make you gamble. It's the addiction of standing there watching all the flashing lights and hearing other people with money pouring out the machines. You think, it's got to be my turn. I played a machine once, and I played it in I can't remember which hotel it was, but it was the cheap machine. I only play the cheap machines because I don't want to put, $5, $10 in. I'm not going to do that. And this one was something like 20 cents a go. Whatever it was, there was an old lady. There were 4 of us, group round. There's only 2 of us playing. It was a 4-bank machine thing. And so I've got an old lady on my left-hand side. There would have been one on the other side. And all of a sudden, I sort of pushed the button, the reel span round, and then it started clocking up. So I'd go, and it started going really mad. Really, really mad. And so the woman said to me, oh, you've done well, haven't you? And I said, have I won this? She said, yeah, it'll keep going. And it kept going. And I kid you not, I ended up with something, I can't remember off the top of my head, whatever it was, I remember thinking, it said something like 34,000 something on it. It just kept clicking up, clicking up, clicking up. And I remember thinking, What the heck? What's it paying out on? I didn't know what it was paying out on. And it was one of those machines where it was just not the middle line, but it was the vertical lines, the horizontal lines, the diagonal lines, the four corners. It was everything. And I'd got this thing up and it just kept going forever and a day. And ended up walking away with something like, I mean, I thought it was going to be millions. But what it does, none of the machines pay cash now. They pay you out a piece of paper. You take the piece of paper to another machine, you put it in there, because otherwise it could be fiddling, and that machine will read the barcode and it will pay you up the appropriate amount of money. And I think I walked away with something like, it was only like $250. And it was nothing really, but to me it seemed like a fortune. But it never tempted me to go and gamble. I'll do the national, but I don't know anything else. So to discover there's only 120,000 addicts in the country, I can understand how you could be addicted to things like that. And there'll be many of you listening going, I love it. I've got friends of mine who play online poker. And they've gone to me, oh, it's really exciting. I said, you're playing a machine. You're playing a computer. It anticipates. It knows what you're going to do. Years ago, there used to be a slot machine, which in the middle had a dice in a like a cup, and it would show you the dice. You could see the dice number, and then it would turn it round and round and round and shake up the dice, and then it would do. So in other words, it would have, say, what did it go up to, 6 or something? 5, and you would go, well, it's going to be lower, and it would come in 6. It would shake it up each time until somebody said to me, it's electromagnets. It knows exactly what number you've pushed on it, and it can do the opposite. I was ever so miffed that this thing would know what I was doing, but it was electromagnets. I wonder why it went down with a thump. And you go to Vegas, and there's acres and acres and acres and acres of slot machines. If you like slot machines, you're in paradise. Absolute paradise. If paradise was half as nice. You know, you can see these, and as far as the eye can see, there's people sitting there playing slot machines. Some win, most lose, and that's what keeps it going. So 120,000 addicts, and that's just over here. And it's the poor people who do it because they want to win. Some people say that was my last fiver or my last tenner. If I only had a tenner left, the last thing I'd be doing is putting it on a horse or a slot machine or anything like that. I'm far too mean. I want the money, thank you very much indeed. I wouldn't want to risk anything else. I really wouldn't. In the papers today, here's a picture of, it's Vogue Williams. That's dim Vogue Williams. And we know she's dim because she appeared on the Celebrity Mastermind and she didn't know anything. But she's going to get married to Made in Chelsea ladies man, Spencer Matthias. After a performance at the Lion King, they met last year on the ski show The Jump, and Spencer went, hello, and will be another notch on my bedpost, because he's got quite a few notches, and she went, yes, and so that's it. So they're now together, which is fantastic, and hopefully it's the last we ever see of either of them. What did we have the other day? A very dreary Graham Norton show. Rob Beckett was on there. No matter which way you do it, you cannot turn this man into a presenter. Might be a very funny comedian or a good voiceover, but it's not presenting. Foghorning space hopper Gemma Collins is one of those rare monsters who's simply too unpleasant for television. The words of Ali Ross, writing in The Sun today. Yet it keeps on offering her another chance at redemption. The latest stop-off being Celebs Go Dating on the E4 channel, where starstruck civilians are mismatched with the likes of Made in Chelsea's Sam Thompson, hilariously naff, Ollie Locke, camp as a Christmas tree, as if Christmas trees were ever camp, and Gemma, who put her first date on hold until he has some cosmetic procedures and walked out on her seconds after 4 minutes when he had the temerity to point out she was half an hour late. Remarkable thing about this series, though, is that it's found someone even more charmless than the old Essex ogress, Love Island's muggy Mike Thalassitis, who has the looks of a Greek god, the brains of a Greek yoghurt, and all the warmth of a mass grave, with a sense of humour to match. I had a Labrador, he told first date Emma, but I strangled it. Joke. Ha-ha. That's how thick he is. If you're wondering then why so many of us are hooked on this show, it's probably all down to Rob Beckett's savagely funny commentary and the brilliant star-crossed dinner dialogue as demonstrated here by Sam Thompson and some deadpan babe called Vienna. So what do you do then? My mum's got a florist business, but before that I was doing embalming. Mike, meet Vienna. Vienna, please meet Mike. Yes, it is. Poor old Gemma Collins, a charmless old bag who shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a television. But they keep putting her on there. Why? Because people laugh at her. We laugh at the simplicity and the stupidity of her. Somebody wants to know whether or not I've drunk Red Bull in the morning. Absolutely. Of course I wouldn't drink Red Bull. Why would I? Who does? Darren, he likes those sort of fizzy drinks. See, I can't do sugary drinks. Obviously, I can't do fizzy drinks full stop. Much as I would probably love to, and years ago I would have done. Now I wouldn't touch them. Good boy. Good boy. Even though I do touch Prosecco, but I wouldn't touch Red Bull. I know they do a sugar-free one, don't they? But it just doesn't interest me. No, I get by on this programme on a few cups of tea. And so should you as well. I see people standing at the bus stops holding a can of Red Bull, and I think, God, you must have had a very late night. Not me at all. OK, LBC and its sister stations from Global are celebrating the biggest stars from the world of music, news and entertainment. The Global Awards are coming. An incredible night will feature live performances from Andrea Bocelli and Sam Smith. The shortlists have just been revealed, so who will get your vote? Voting is open now. To vote, download the Global Player app or go to lbc.co.uk. The date, Thursday, March the 1st. One huge night. It's the Global Awards. 84850 steve at lbc.co.uk. Somebody says, what about the Loch Ness Monster? Is that fake? Simon. Now, you know, it never existed ever. Not ever, 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 ever. It was made up by some drunk Scottish people who'd been out and they saw, back in the 1950s, a piece of log floating in the loch. And they took a picture of it, and it went round the world. People said, oh, this is the Loch Ness Monster. And then this story originated that the Loch Ness Monster is millions of years old. It doesn't breathe, apparently. It's obviously got its own aqualung. It lives in caves which are hidden deep beneath Loch Ness. It swims in and out, so it can go to the sea and then come back in again. It's vegetarian because there's no fish in the loch. And also, you'll never find it because the loch is full of silt. And also it's obviously single, because otherwise there'd be loads. You'd have to stop the kids. Don't go up there. We don't want to be photographed. So they've never ever had a photograph of it. I mean, even the one from the 1950s, a child of 2 could have painted this on a piece of glass. It was like the little girls, wasn't it? Don't you remember who took pictures of fairies at the bottom of their garden? This was long before the advent of Made in Chelsea or Dick Emery or anybody else. Fairies abounded at the bottom of the garden. And so these 2 little girls, or let's call them professional liars, decided to cut pictures of fairies out of a book, and with the help of a little bit of cotton from their mummy's sewing basket, they hung them from trees and took photographs of them. And the people at the time, who was I think it must have been post-Victorian, believed it. And they believed the girls. The girls stuck to their story. Yes, there are fairies at the bottom of the garden. And then one of the little girls died when she was quite old, and the other one still kept it going. Yes, there were fairies. We photographed them, and we would go and play with them and all this kind of thing. They were compulsive liars. I mean, they should have been admonished years ago and had a good old slap on the back of the legs. And then finally, one of the little girls admitted as she was about to die. They were fairly ancient, by that time. The first one had died, and she said, yeah, we actually cut the pictures out of books. She told them the books they cut them out of. I'm surprised nobody ever saw it, actually, but there again, we didn't have computers, so you couldn't check on these things. And she said we just sort of attached a little bit of cotton and hung them in the trees. And the same for the Loch Ness Monster. There's a few barking mad people up there, mainly a drink problem. There is a bit of a drink problem around there. And they admit to... there's one man, he's Japanese, he's been living in a caravan by the side of Loch Ness for something like 20 years. He's seen nothing. Why? Because there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There is no Loch Ness Monster. It's not coming out of the water. I know Hollywood has made a few films about it, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it? In the days of, megapixel cameras, which are so perfect, you would get a really good picture. There's not one decent picture of the Loch Ness Monster. Darren, as you know, does the programme prior to this. You probably haven't guessed, but he is a Scottish person. He speaks the Scottish language, and he's from the Highlands, and he insists it's real. Of course, because if a Scottish person, and you can be drummed out of the brownies for this one, if you actually say to people, it doesn't actually exist, it's keeping a tourism industry alive. And people have guest houses around Loch Ness, which is very long, and they say that's why you can never find it. They've trawled the loch, they've done echo sounding, they've done cameras underwater, nothing, because it doesn't exist. But it's keeping a tourist industry alive. There's a few people up there, like Wee Jimmy Cranky and people like that, and they've probably got a guest house, and they say, that's the Loch Ness Monster, and we used to feed it at the back gate, and they'll swear blind. It's like the people who want to believe in flying saucers. They'll swear blind these things come down, do crop circles. They're barking mad. Mainly drink problems, or if not, they've certainly got 1 or 2 screws loose. So I'm afraid there is no Loch Ness Monster. The story of the Titanic, of course, goes down into legend. You know, here was the ship that couldn't sink. Well, apparently it did. But they're building the equivalent of the Titanic, I think, over in Australia or something like that. They are building, and you'd have thought they'd have learnt from the first one, but apparently not. So they're building the second one, and people will no doubt book to go on it. Although I'd want to see a little bit of a little bit of exercise. Do it a few times, then I might get on it. But up until then, Andy says you'll be questioning Brigadoon next. Don't start me on Bonnie Prince Charlie. You know, as if he existed. I think not. All this sort of story about men in kilts, made up to support an industry that died out years ago. It just doesn't. The Bonnie Prince Charlie, Scots were how we want this below. And it just doesn't exist. You know, flying saucers don't exist. Ghosts don't exist unless you count Gemma Collins first thing in the morning in a nightie. Or would that be Anne Widdecombe? Anyway, one of the two. It's quite horrible. You know, you'd be sitting there and all of a sudden this ghostly figure floats through a wall and people will sit there and swear blind, you know, and they'll go, I'm a police officer and I saw this thing. This plane came down in front of me and it took the car up in... Oh, yes, of course it did, dear. And we're supposed to believe you because you're a police officer. No, not me. I'm the world's biggest cynic. I don't believe anything like that. And somebody says they have just booked a cruise on the Titanic around the Caribbean. He said, I shall put all this fake news to bed for you by taking some photographs of the ship and I'll post them on Facebook. And I'm very excited because we've been informed that Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio are going to be on board as well. I think that's amazing. Make them stand at the front of the ship. You know, King of the World! I'd like to do that, because you know you can still see that bit, the bit that Hollywood made up. It's plastic, and what they've done is they've sprayed it to make it look as though it's metal. I've seen this kind of stuff before. I've been out to museums. I've been to the V&A Museum, where you've got things that you swear blind are concrete. They're not. They're rubber. They've almost done... I don't know what they call it now, I can't remember, there's a name for it, but they do it at the V&A Museum, and these towers, beautiful engravings on, they cover them in rubber, and then they peel it off, and then you get that. It looks really lovely, actually, it's very good. It says on the tin that diabetics like you shouldn't touch Red Bull, says Mark. Why don't you mind your own business? What's it got to do with you? I told you I don't drink it. He says, I wouldn't have thought the Greek yoghurt, had more personality. Yeah. I don't get that, actually, but never mind, it doesn't matter. Show on form as usual this morning, Steve. Particularly enjoyed hearing about the marmalade-making aunt who took the pith out of oranges. Yes, she did. I mean, she worked there for many, many years, actually. Many, many years. Also, somebody says, did you know the swimming pool on the Titanic is still full of water? Well, it would be. People are still swimming in it, aren't they? I mean, let's face it, there are no place for liars like Kenny on the Show Your Band. OK, that's it. Now you've got no friends. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do? You'll have to write in and go, oh, please, and beg. You know, and that's what I like. I like it. Also, stop spreading Titanic lies. It's not big, and it's not clever, and it's not nice. Because there are young people listening. As this is half-term, more young people are tuning into the radio. You know why? Because they're getting up this morning hoping that mummy or daddy, and it'll probably be mummy, is going to take you somewhere interesting. But if you're old enough to do it by yourself, why don't you do yourself a favour and go to a museum? Go to a museum. Don't do the one that everybody else does. No, don't do the Titanic Museum, because that's just, you know. Go to the V&A. Very educational. There's lots of stuff in there. Or, if you really want to believe, go to the Natural History Museum, but don't go in by their front door. Go round the corner. This is the Steve Allen advice to anybody who comes to London. Do not queue. You'll see a queue a mile long today. We saw a queue. What did we see a queue for the other day? What were they queuing for? Oh! Sunday morning, they were queuing for Sherlock Holmes's fake property on Baker Street, where some buffoon dresses up as a copper there. All Japanese. There must have been 100 people queuing as we'd come back from Regent's Park. And I said, what are they doing? And a friend of mine said, they're queuing to go in Sherlock Holmes's place. I said, but he never existed. And they go, I know that, you know that. They don't know that. So they've got a fake museum with his rooms where he worked with... I mean, it's just unbelievable twaddle here in London. Oh, dear me. Ridiculous, isn't it, really? What about a medium, says Joe in London? They have to be real. Oh, please. Please. Listen, you can say anything to anybody, can't you? I choose not to be a believer. That's my choice. You can choose to be a believer or not be a believer. I couldn't care less. You know, I'll tell you they're fake. You can tell me they're real, but that's your opinion. Everybody, luckily, is entitled to an opinion. You know, I'm a member of the Inner Magic Circle. You know, they were exposed by the Davenport brothers, fake mediums, people who would sit there, the lights would dim, and then all of a sudden a tambourine would come flying out. There used to be people who used to go, even on the Paul Daniels show, they brought over a lady who exposed mediums. They would literally, a simple thing, there'd be a post, they would tie her to it, the bloke would take a curtain round, and as it went round the back, all of a sudden, he changed into her, the curtain was pulled aside, and... she changed into him, going on anyway, whatever it was. Whoever was tied to the post, the other one was then tied to the post, and they would check it. They would tie somebody up in a room, make sure they were all handcuffed up, then the next thing, tambourines would be flying out, and the person sitting in there, they'd be the one chained up to the table. So we used to expose it years ago. It's done. It depends how you sell it. I mean, I have a tambourine at home. Whether you believe it or believe it not, I have a tambourine in a box and it plays by itself because I am possessed with spirits. Prosecco, gin, whiskey, vodka, all that kind of stuff. And it plays by itself. You will hear it. And we'll open the box and there is only the tambourine in there. And I bought it many, many years ago in an auction in America. It cost an awful lot of money. It was once owned by Houdini. I have Houdini keys. I have all sorts of... Now, whether you choose to believe that is your business. I'm just telling you the story, because I tell stories. If you believe it, well, then we'll get on fine. If you choose not to believe it, I'm never going to speak to you ever again. But some people want to believe in ghosts, and some people choose not to believe in ghosts. Some people want to believe in crop circles, and some people want to believe that they're done by students. I can only tell you the fact that they're done by students. There is no spaceship like do-do-do-do-do, boo-boo-boo. Do you remember that film, Close Encounters? And we all went, wow. And it made people, it gave a reinforced belief in what is up there. And they will tell you, in space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. And out it goes, and it goes as far away as possible and hopefully stays there. And then apparently the further you get out, the more ugly people become. And people turn up, and they look like Chewbacca. Chewbacca, seriously? Noticed? No underpants. Not wearing any underpants. What's going on there? Can't have people... You know what animals are like? Mess about all over the place. Even on Monkey World with the little ones, they put pants on and stuff like that. Goodness sake. For Steve, next thing he'll be telling us there's no Santa Claus. Don't start people on things like that. I've seen him. I've been there. I've been inside the Arctic Circle. Goodness sake. What's going on, Steve? UFOs, ghosts? Next you'll be telling me the America elected the host of a reality TV show for their president. That's all going to turn out to be a dream. Seriously, by the time we get to Christmas, it's going to be like Dallas, where Bobby sort of goes and then he wakes up in the shower. And it's going to be the same for the American president. At the moment, we think it's somebody called Trump. And he's been on a reality show, and it's going to turn out to be a dream. I promise you. And none of it will be real at all. Please God. Steve, I see you've started your fishing trip early. Says Johan. I've heard about a light line, a medium line, and a strong line, but I see you found an extremely strong line, the Titanic line. Reel them in. I'm sure my friends listening in must realise that when I introduced them to your programme. It was the best thing that ever happened to them. Carry on the good work. I know. It's a gift, isn't it, really? I suppose we're very lucky. Oh, guess who's died? Vic Damone has died. Now, for people of a certain age, Vic Damone was a legendary singer. In fact, Frank Sinatra described him as the best set of pipes in the business. He hit the UK charts in 1958 with a song that went, and you get a bonus prize if you can tell me the musical. I have often walked down the street before, but the pavement never stayed beneath my feet before. Once am I, several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live, my fair lady. He had a big, big hit with that. He died in hospital in Miami Beach, Florida. He was 89, I think, 89. He was surrounded by his loved ones. He had 4 children, 6 grandchildren. He'd be living in a retirement home with his 5th wife until her death 2 years ago. Oh, goodness. He made 2,500 recordings. Last toured in 2011, made his last album in 2002. Vic Damone, who died. Plus, there's a Valentine's Day crackdown on benefit cheats. Know exactly who he is. Many of you going, who the dickens is that? It'd be like me sort of, oh, by the way, I know there's something. Do you remember I told you some time ago when they were talking about, One Direction are going to be touring again and they're going to be getting back together? No chance. No chance. You know why? The touring office that they had has just been closed down. So presumably, unless they're going to open up another one, which I think is highly unlikely. And somebody says, oh, thanks for spoiling Dallas. I know. I've got a million like that, let me tell you. Apparently, my wife, says Tim, and I took our 4 children to the Imperial War Museum in Lambeth. An enjoyable day was had by all. It is a super museum. You know, unlike people who go, oh, the Imperial War Museum, it celebrates war. It doesn't. What it does is educate. It educates. You must go. You must absolutely go, because they've got, oh, God, it's such a good place. Such a good place to go to. And they've also got a very, very good place where you can get food. All the museums have upped their ante, and everybody from the British Museum to the V&A. I've been to so many museums, and their food standards are really, really good. So you should go there. Take the kids to the Imperial War Museum. It's an education. You can get the bus, and you literally just get off the bus and walk over the road, and there it is. And it's an amazing place. It's got a fantastic Holocaust exhibition, and also some of the little boats that brought people back from France, from D-Day, things like that. It's just a place that knocks you sideways. It really does. So go. There you go. That's a good thing to do, actually. Another one here says, isn't it nice to see a reality show with real stars? I'm talking about the Winter Olympics. To get there, mostly you have to start at about 5 years of age and train 6 days a week for the next 12 years, as opposed to the other reality shows where you have to sit on your fat, tattooed bottom for 20 years and then go on television. I like the curling best. I'm not a fan of curling. I don't understand people wanting to, sort of brushing in front of the thing. Steve, does Paul Smith have a picture of a wallet cut from a book and attached by cotton to his pocket in place of the real one? Or is it an urban myth? Treating you to a Nandos steak. Yes, I mean, I seriously had to check on whether or not it was the 1st of April, but it's not, but it will be soon, with a bit of luck. Valentine's Day crackdown on benefits cheats. This is where they find out. Do you know how much money we actually pay out? 175 billion in benefits between 2016 and 2017. That's with fraud and error accounting for around 3 billion. Investigators recovered a record 1.1 billion pounds. And the most common thing is people saying, oh no, we don't actually live together. Liars. And they catch them out. They actually found one, Kelly Delaney. She paid the price. She raked in 83 grand by falsely claiming she was a single unemployed mother of 2. In fact, she was a bent liar. Her husband was living with her in Leicester for 1 or 2 nights a week, and he was also giving her financial support. She received a 15-month suspended sentence, was ordered to repay the cash and do 150 hours of unpaid work. You see, I'm not interested in repaying the cash. Throw him in prison. Throw him in prison. None of this suspended sentence malarkey. It's a waste of time. There is no deterrent, is there? No deterrent. I was watching a programme the other day. In Australia, they've really got it. The border controls there are fantastic. They had a guy there, and they said, we'd like, we think there's, some sort of, something not right. We'd like to search you. No, I don't want to be searched. Well, we can call in a magistrate and he can order a search of you. I don't want to be. I think you're just picking on me because of the way I look. And so they said, no, we just, it's just odd. We've looked at your travel and we've looked at this and that. And he kept saying, no, you picked on me. He said, my word is the truth. You should accept that. And I'm thinking, I know he's going to turn out to be a liar because otherwise they wouldn't be showing his face. And so they showed his face and he was adamant. And in the end, they said, well, listen, we need to go to a room and we need to sort this out because the magistrate will come over and he will decide whether or not we do this search on you or we send you to hospital to make sure that you've not swallowed anything. Anyway, they go into this private room, him having stood there and argued the toss with them about the fact that he wasn't carrying any drugs or anything else, and how dare they even insinuate he was carrying drugs. He had a parcel of drugs stuffed down his tracksuit bottoms, which had drugs, cocaine, worth £430,000. So much of a liar was he. And then it said, so-and-so was convicted of carrying £430,000 worth of cocaine, and he went to prison for 7.5 years. Over here, they'd go, would you like a holiday? Perhaps we can send you on holiday somewhere. Southend's very popular this time of year. Mevagisse's very popular. And they had another bloke who claimed his brother had given him money, and again, he was another one who had swallowed lots and lots of little packets of heroin. And he was, take my shoes off, do my shoe, I don't care, and all the rest of it. Have you swallowed anything? No. So when they eventually took him to their machine, as he walked through it, or as the machine passed through him, you could see all these packets. And he also went to prison for 7.5 years. So those who protesteth too loudly, it's like people there, and they stop them and they go, do you have any of these drugs, guns, machetes, machine guns, cigarettes? And they go, do you know what the cigarette allowance is? And then you get these people go, no, don't think so. Oh, right. Where have we just come from? Gran Canaria. Okay, you know you're allowed 200 cigarettes. Are we? How many do you think you've got? 75,000. Okay, fine. I think you're going to lose them all, and if you do it again next time, we're going to lock you up. You know, it's no good standing there going, you don't know what the law is. Just because in Gran Canaria it's all duty-free, people think you can buy them and bring them back. 200 cigarettes. That's all you can bring back. 200 cigarettes. And so they go, just for you, is it? Yeah, just for you. No, you liar. You're selling. People know. They're not stupid. Customs, you know, stand there and they're very patient. And the customs men, and then they've already x-rayed, so they know who's actually got the cigarettes. They just wait for you to pick up the bag. Oh, happy Valentine's Day. Misery, misery abound. There's no point in celebrating Valentine's Day at 4:03 in the morning, mainly because the only place that's open will be the filling stations. So you could take somebody a box of grapes, couldn't you? If you managed to find a Marks and Spencer shop open at this time of the morning, which isn't too difficult in the London area. And then there'll be roses, cheap roses, and then the kids will get you something from Poundland. In the end, you'll just go, well, that was a waste of time, wasn't it? But I'm sure that somebody somewhere will have an aphrodisiac of a meal for later on, although at this time of the morning I couldn't think of anything worse. Is it time to pull the pug on cute dogs? They arrive with all sorts of illnesses and everything else. Why are the Brits charged twice as much as the Americans in Boots, the chemist, for the same number 7 range? Brendan Cole, now that he's been kicked off the Strictly programme, he started gabbing on about anything that anybody wants to listen to, and nobody cares anymore, I'm afraid. Plus the Christian magistrate fighting the sacking over the gay adoption, and the pub in Essex where they celebrate gollies. And the landlord says people send them in to him. He's got loads of gollies hanging up. And if you don't know what they are, just go onto the internet because it makes it so much easier. And everybody had them years and years ago because that's what people had. You know, grandmothers knitted gollies. They were very popular. In fact, I wasn't aware that they were offensive anymore. The reason I say that is because I'm sure in the back of my mind there was a shop that was selling gollies. And the council, you know, obviously thinking they are the police, come along and they confiscate all the stock. Anyway, the shop owner, as far as the mood, goes to court and they get them all back again. Council made to look very stupid. The council in this particular case have said to the landlord of this pub, you've got to take them down, it's offensive. And the landlord basically said, what's it got to do with you? Mind your own business. Although the funny thing is they actually do licence places. They could probably do something about it. The police say they've had no complaints at all. I don't know why anybody would bother complaining in this day and age. Don't want to go somewhere? Don't go somewhere. Goodness sake. And a £600 cream, can it really be the elixir of youth? This is La Prairie. It's apparently made of gold and all sorts of things. And to be honest with you, I don't know, I have tried creams. I wouldn't spend 600 quid on a cream. I'd be far too depressed at the end of the day if I didn't notice the fact that I looked a lot younger. Sorry, I just had to have a slurp of my tea. I like it when it's nice and fresh. I don't like it when it's... Some people like it when it's stewed. And I'm very good, actually. I'm very good for this building. I recycle tea bags. I can actually get 2 cups of tea out of a tea bag. I don't throw them away till after the second one. Do you throw them away after the first, do you? Oh, God. You're so... Two brand new tea bags. Good Lord above, honestly. Yes... Well, I'm sure you do. That's your business, isn't it? What you do when you're in the privacy of your flat. My mother used to save tea leaves, and we used to put them on the garden. I don't know why we put them on the garden. It was something like that. But I used to like proper leaf tea. But now, tea bags, with the advent of tea bags, I'm really happy with it. I love a tea bag, but I don't squeeze. I'm not one of these people who takes them out and sort of likes to play around with things. It's like checking for testicular cancer. We don't do that, do we? Well, we do when it sort of crops up in the press, but we don't bother the rest of the time. And so I've been quite good. I do recycle. I can get 2 cups of tea out of a tea bag, and that's good enough for me. But sometimes, and this tea is really nice. I don't even know what make it is, but it's very good. Probably Builders. It's probably Builders tea, because otherwise if we had really, really expensive tea in the building, that would just be ridiculous, wouldn't it? People would be taking it home. I have heard of people taking that home in buildings before now. Also, women are not the romantic sex. It's men. Men are romantic. And that's probably true, isn't it, really? Men are the ones who think about something romantic. I don't think women do. Could be wrong. More sex, please. We're over 65. I mean, it just takes you a little bit longer, doesn't it, I suppose? But, yeah, the over 65s are at it like rabbits. And I suppose they would be. Also, what was the other one that I had, actually? Oh, Meghan's Little Pony up there. They went and had another photo opportunity where they spent a few minutes talking to people. Brits are going back to Tunisia. And can you predict if your partner will cheat? Paddy, Paddy, love, come over here. Tell us a bit more about the Appleton girl, can you? Just a little bit. Braying young Tories groped women at boozy bash. And could Charles miss out as head of the Commonwealth? Because to be honest with you, I don't think we really bother with things like that, do we, anymore? Plus the president's tirade at the Oxfam workers over the sex scandal. Minnie Driver has quit as ambassador. I think more than 1,500 people have cancelled their direct debits. Is this the end of Oxfam as we know it? I wouldn't be at all surprised, because it doesn't seem to be going away. It really doesn't. Front page of the Daily Mail, talking about the Duke of Edinburgh scheme threatens to remove teenagers from charity shops. Biggest firms could axe donations. Why would they want to be associated with a charity like that? Seriously. I mean, I don't think it's right. I really don't think it's right. Plus, Britain's on flood alert as storms sweep in, which is great. All of that and your texts and emails this morning. Please, not romantic ones. Please, nothing to do with romance. I can't be. It's bad enough reading about it in the newspapers and looking at pictures of loved-up couples. I think one of the newspapers has got loads of things, love you, SA from JC or whatever. So, all those sort of things that you read in the papers, and which is okay. Steve, I hope you have a great Valentine's Day and send all my love to the crew, says Martin. Pervert. Absolutely not. We don't do things like that. We're too old for that kind of thing. Only young people do Valentine's Day. Older people don't do that at all. We really don't. Alex says, my mum and dad saved the tea bags and made tea wine once. Tea wine? Never heard of that. Sounds disgusting. I had an uncle, my Uncle Jack, who used to make his own wines and beers and everything. It used to be, dandelion and burdock, and he'd go out and blackcurrant wine and all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking, actually, it was so popular one time. You'd go into the chemist and they'd have a kit for making wine and beers, and you'd stagger home with this stuff and you'd put it in plastic containers and add the thing and then ferment it, and then you'd make your own beer and wine, and then people started realising it was cheaper to buy the blooming stuff than it was to actually make it. Yesterday, lovely day. Angela Griffin came in. You know Angela because you know her from Holby. You'd know her from just about everything on the television. She's over 40. She looks 18. She doesn't need any face cream that's the elixir of youth. She looks amazing. She's a listener, and a listener to my friend Mr. Moyles around the corner as well. And she knows him from way back in Manchester. So it was lovely seeing her. And Nigel Planer was in yesterday. Today we've got the hospital. Imagine Valentine's Day, and I've got to go and sit on a hospital bed in my pants while they check my burns and go, they've healed really well. In fact, I think they've healed remarkably well. I looked this morning. I am prone to looking on a regular basis. And the stitching one really come up. It's come up really well. The arm looks very good as well. So I'm quite pleased with the way it's turned out. I just hope that the doctor who's in charge of the plastic surgery side of it is going to be as pleased. And then tomorrow, 2 more interviews, and then Friday, no interviews, which means it's start of the weekend. I'm really looking forward to starting the weekend this week. I've got nothing to do, which is lovely. It's nice when you go, I've got nothing to do. I've got a couple of bills to pay, and that's about it. Plus, the youth football coach, Barry Bennell, found guilty of 36 child sex charges, and I think there's still more to come. I mean, it's absolutely enormous, because it turns out that because it was kids who wanted to learn how to play football, and they were going to the clubs, that's where people got abused in the early days, from the age of 8 years old. It was practically a licence for people like Barry Bennell to actually do what they wanted to do. And in fact, even at some cases, I think some of the football coaches, the kids used to stay overnight. And the parents used to think, oh, that's good, they love that, because it's football. They like doing football, they want to learn about it. They didn't realise they were being abused. Kids didn't say anything either, which didn't really help. Now, of course, they are saying things. So, what else we've got apart from Valentine's Day? John Cleese. Oh, I love John Cleese. The story, I'll never work at the BBC again. Oh, by the way, I'm back with a new sitcom on the BBC. It's funny how people sort of say something, and then, of course, it comes back to bite them on the bum, doesn't it? When they go, wait a minute, you said you weren't ever going to do... but that was then, this is now. That sounds like a title, doesn't it? It's from a Monkees song. That was then, this is now. Great song. Really good, catchy song. We might have a clip of it a little bit later on for you. Plus, you won't see girls in bikinis at the building show. I thought we've gone past that, haven't we? It was like years ago. You used to get calendars of topless girls who were in, car mechanics, people who used to service your car. There'd always be the Pirelli calendar on the wall, or some of the other ones, Samantha Fox, sort of leering out at a picture, and her boobs on the next page, and the next page, and the next page. And then all of a sudden you don't see that anymore. because people used to say it was offensive to women, because they never did the equivalent calendar for well, they probably did do an equivalent male calendar, but whether or not it was as successful, I've got no idea. I don't really sort of think about things like that. I do like calendars. Somebody sent me some from Canada years ago, regular listener to the programme, and I got some lovely calendars in, and I quite liked them. I thought, where do I put them? Where do I put these calendars? And the answer is you hang them up on your wall and then you write things on it and tick things off, because it's the only way to plan. If you've got kids and they're sort of now at the age of, 15 upwards, planning the weekends and planning the week and planning all the events which they've got to do literally takes, like the equivalent of mastermind. It's very complicated. Excuse me, quick... Oh, it's lovely. That's so exciting. It's no good lying in bed. You really need to get up and have a... Can you find the Monkees? That was then, this is now. Because it's the chorus I want, because it was such a good little song. I think it was sung by Mickey Dolenz. Mickey did most of the singing on the Monkees tracks. He's still going. He's still around. Peter Tork is still going, and Mike Nesmith. And that was then this continent. I've started sitting on the train and going, I really need to go to the toilets. And then you suddenly realise that you're on a train that's got no toilets on. And you go, where's the toilets? And you have to go, did you have the... Oh, it's awful. It's absolutely awful, because you're sitting there thinking, oh, I pray nothing makes me laugh. And then you sort of think, oh, I really need the toilet. And then, of course, when I get off at Richmond, I've got to go up the stairs, because I can't do Twickenham Station, because it's too much walking. Brian will tell you at Twickenham Station there's a lot more walking than there used to be. And... which was nice, because then when I did do it, I was walking past Mr. Shah's chemist goods, and so I get off at Richmond, then I go and get a sandwich with the producer, keep him going. I had to get one for Ollie the other day, because Ollie was absolutely starving out there, and he came back up from doing the breakfast show, and I'd done my interviews, and I said, right, I'm going to go now. I said, do you want some frutellas? It's like grooming. And he said, oh, yeah, he said, I'm starving. I said, well, do you know, as luck would have it, I've got a ham sandwich for you. Well, he devoured it like it was the ham sandwich from all the things. David Jones did the singing. No, he didn't. No, he just did a couple of little bits and pieces. But main singer was Mickey Dolenz, as any Monkey fan will tell you. Dean says, I heard somebody say that Oxfam could change the name of the charity. I don't know it'll be that easy. Good luck at the hospital today, thank you. And Neil says, Valentine's Day. Don't worry, we know why you're hurting. You're missing Aussie Boy. And actually, strange enough, we're not. It's so much better without him. I mean, he is ultimately dull. I'm not saying that, the ones that we get, but the ones that we get are probably linked to convicts. And so we get them coming back in again. Having sent them to Australia in the first place in chains, now the little blighters are coming back in again. So no, we're definitely not missing him. In fact, if I did a survey around this building at this precise moment, people who know him, they'd all be going, is he not here anymore? That would be the kind of thing people would say about him. So, we don't... Even though he thinks that when he comes back from holiday, I'm taking him out for lunch. Huh? I think not. I don't know why. Paul Smith drove him past my place in Twickenham. So now he knows where I live. So I've now had to increase the amount of cameras that we got on the property to make sure that he is covered by... Well, I'm going to have to move quietly without telling him. Just fill up the flat with Rottweilers or something like that. And then, because I don't like the idea that he might turn up at the front door. Oh, hi, Steve. Just thought I'd come round. We go out for a drink or something. I think, hello. Oh, wait a minute. I'll be in a minute. Get the police now. That'll be how it is. But no, we're not missing him. Not missing. And also, he's the meanest person you'll ever meet. I don't think he's ever bought anything, has he, in here? I mean, what did he buy me one year for Christmas? Socks. How's it? Socks. I ask you, of all the things you could buy somebody. I mean, he could have bought a bottle of Prosecco, which is by far a more acceptable gift. And probably for Valentine's Day, if you're one of those people who really wants to celebrate the goddess of love, St. Valentine, well, as I say, it's kind of, the older I get, the more I'm not interested in it. But you might be, in which case I'm sure you'll have a lovely, lovely day. But we take all your texts and emails, we weave it all in, 84850, steve@lbc.co.uk. Ford says, I hope Paul Smith got his Interflora delivery. Oh, right. I didn't know he had that. I came in this morning. He did say to me, Happy Valentine's Day. Well, that was a trip to HR immediately. I don't want to start any of that malarkey going on. Well, then, honestly, think about that. I've just wandered in, from a freezing cold world outside, and you get him being all chirpy going, oh, Happy Valentine's Day. I don't even think they celebrate in Scotland. I'm pretty certain it's not... I don't think it's celebrated at all, mainly because they're just not romantic up there. It's too cold to be romantic. Far too cold. So people just go, well, let's miss Valentine's Day and let's go straight for Easter. Much easier. Short break. It's 19 minutes past 4. Pretty well, Paul Smith's in a right little mood this morning, let me tell you, honestly. Ever since we mentioned, honestly, and I was nice to him this morning. I brought him in some little poppadoms and a sour cream and chive dip, which is particularly delicious. There's something about... the last time I had sour cream, I had it on a fajitas. And they did one in Marks and Spencer's, and it was a little... like a pancake thing, and then you put some chicken on, and then you put some stewed onions and red and green peppers, and then you put on some tomato salsa, and then you put on some sour cream. God, it was delicious. It was really nice. And so when I saw the sour cream dip, I thought, I'll take that in for Paul, give him something to cheer him up. And now it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, without telling me anything about this at all, he had Turkish food delivered here at midnight. I mean, when I gave him the food... because he comes... He's very... Yeah, he's going to run in a minute, although actually the size he's becoming, running is the last thing he'll be thinking of doing. He'll probably do a slow walk. And so he had Turkish food delivered. No mention of this to me this morning. More than happy to take my poppadoms and my sour cream and chive dip. No, I've just realised I can see now. I can have a look at it. He'll be writing something up, won't he? Because he hasn't got enough effort to sort of, or time to keep running round here. But no, he never mentioned the Turkish food at all. But was it to share, or was it just for himself? That is he never even mentioned that to me. I thought he would have sort of said, Steve, would you like some of my Turkish food? No, the nearest I actually get is sort of Nando's. And now we discover, although he didn't tell me, somebody else told me yesterday, that they do meat. I was really odd about that, because I remember looking through... They do steak. I've never seen Nando's doing steak. Mind you, having heard that they've taken it off the menu, I'm so glad I never had steak at Nando's. Just chicken is fine. Yeah, apparently Paul Smith's got an entire tub of Flora. David Bowie changed his name because of the Monkees. Seems a shame now both have passed on, says Kevin. And I heard somebody say, that's right, no, Dean's saying that they could change their name at Oxfam. I said that before. Because the only thing that can save them is by changing their name and starting up and making sure that they are absolutely complicit in everything that they do and that we know everything that goes on. Because once you lose faith in a charity, that's it. That is it. And I don't think, with hand on heart, and from what I've heard, and people are still talking about it in the newspapers and everything else, I don't really think that Oxfam can survive this. It's too bad. If it was anything else, we probably could have understood it. But I'm not going for underage sex with teenage prostitutes. I can't buy into that at all. It just doesn't sit with me, I'm afraid. But that's my decision. You can do what you want to do if you decide and you think they've actually done enough and you want to continue giving money to them. That's fine. You can do that. Not what I want to do. But there again, we've all got our own. Lovely. I thought my wife was joking, Steve, when she said she was leaving me due to my obsession with the pop group The Monkees. Then I saw her face. Such an old one, isn't it? Actually, that was I'd always liked the Davy Jones bit, where you go, don't pick on me just because I'm small. And he goes, oh, I could hide neath the wing of the bluebird. And everybody, when you do the rugby at Twickenham, if you go to the Barmy Arms afterwards, and you see my friends down there who run it, to hear 2,000 not all Butch, rugby fans singing, cheer up, Sleepy Jean, seriously, on the side of the Thames at the Barmy Arms, it's the best thing. And then and then all the other hit songs that you want to sing at all the rugby games, we do, bye, 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 Delilah, da, da, da. Yeah, Sweet Caroline, also terribly popular. And, I mean, just everything. Just song after song after song after song. I've had some of my best days down there where you walk away hoarse and drunk at the same time. It's a winning combination. I love a winning combination. Steve, the late Davy Jones sang lead vocals on Daydream Believer. Yeah, and that was it. Most of them were sort of Mickey. Most of them were Mickey Dolenz doing it. And also, because bearing in mind, you probably don't remember the story of the Monkees, but by the time they'd actually come to be assembled as a group, the songs were already decided. They already had the songs decided, and in many cases, they'd already sorted out the song titles. So when poor old Mike Nesmith turned up with his guitar, they went, we've already laid down the backing tracks. That was it. The very idea, says Warren, of rugby players singing Homecoming Queen. Do you know, it's the best thing you'll ever hear, I promise you. It's the best thing that you'll ever hear. It's always been the funniest thing, and it's always been the thing that, when you get so many people singing, it's just the most amazing thing. I love it. I love it. I can't describe. First time I was down there with Alec and Hillary, and I remember thinking, this is just the best thing ever. And it is one of the best rugby pubs down there, because you can be by the side of the tent. Nobody's fallen in, as far as I ever remember. But we've had thousands of people down there, thousands on the side of the riverbank, all singing along, and it was really good fun. So, and I don't know why, actually. I was thinking about the Monkeys, because I was watching various other groups on YouTube, especially the Bay City Rollers, singing Saturday, night. Gonna keep on dancing to the rock and roll on Saturday night, which I love. It's all good stuff. Steve, roses are red, violets are blue. LBC's fabulous, all because of you, says Jim. My God, that must have taken you years to come up with that one. Years and years and years. We like it at this time of the morning, because at this time of the morning, it's the time to sort of, for many of you, put your feet up and just have a sort of a lazy kind of a day. Oh, lovely. I like, there might be a famous rugby player going to Robin's Barbecue in the summer. We're already working out Robin's Barbecue. Robin has this, he has this lovely house out at Weybridge, and he has a barbecue. And it's really good. The food is fantastic. It's all catered, and it's lovely. And he's got the most beautiful little garden. It's only a small garden, but they've got so much in it. There's a little Japanese bit and a bridge, and it's just fantastic. And last time I went, of course, and there's only a small select group of people who go. I've been to it twice now. I wasn't aware that you could be invited twice. I thought that was pushing it a bit, Robin? And we got Calabro were there. Tony Blair was there. It was Brian Connolly was there. Gloria Hunniford, me, and another. It was fabulous. Warren was there, of course. It was really great. It was really great. It was just nice. It's a nice mix of people, to actually get to an ex-Prime Minister and Gloria and her lovely husband as well, Stephen Way. And it was good. Paul, in Upper Norwood, he says, whilst in New Zealand, I went to a cafe which was called The Golly Word. They were everywhere, life-size, sitting at the table, stood up by the door, not a whimper of a complaint. The radio was playing, and during the news it was announced that the Pope described New Zealanders as uncouth, which I thought was funny. Yeah, we used to have Robinson's marmalade, and you could, behind the label there was a golly, and you could collect gollies, and if you collected enough gollies, the paper ones, you could exchange for a metal badge. And then all of a sudden it changed. I met a lady the other day. She used to sing with the Black and White Minstrels, and she's lovely. That's what it was. They were prime time on the television, the Black and White Minstrel show. People blacked up. I know, you look back and you realise how wrong it was, but at the time, that was it. There were minstrel shows taking place the length and breadth of this land. At all the seaside resorts, there'd be a minstrel show with people, who played banjos and stuff like that, and sing all the songs that people sang whilst they were picking cotton. You can go back onto the Black and White Minstrel shows, and you can look at all the spirituals that people were singing and songs that people sang whilst they were picking cotton and things like that. And we would watch it, and it rated highly, very highly. And I think down at the Victoria Palace, the Black and White Minstrel show ran for years and years. So popular was it. Now, of course, it's changed, but then things change. We now don't stone people in this country or publicly execute them. Well, having said that, it's really 25 minutes to 5. It's Steve Allen's early breakfast. Jane says, I can't imagine over 65-year-olds and sex. Well, I don't think you're supposed to think about it, but when you actually get to 65, you will be thinking about it, I promise you. Anne says, can anybody come to Robin's? No, I forgot to mention, actually. I didn't forget to mention. I was being quite polite, actually, because that's where we bumped into Cliff. Cliff and Robin go back many, many, many years. Many, 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 many years. I wouldn't even like to imagine how many, because I'm not sure what the answer is. But, yes, every time Cliff is there as well, and it's an opportunity for him to relax, I think, in sort of the company of people who are, in the same kind of business. And so that's not, because people don't get the opportunity of doing that nowadays, do they? It's very difficult to sort of to put your feet up and just have a sit down, have a glass of wine or some champagne or whatever it happens to be. Steve, I've got a hospital consultation this morning about my cataract. Oh, in the singular. Apparently it'll take around 2 hours. I've got to see a nurse and a technician as well as a consultant. Did that happen with you? No, it didn't. No, I was, well, in fact, because after they'd actually tested my blood and it was too high, there was no chance of doing anything. But then I probably would have seen a consultant. Depends whether they're doing them today or whether they're, looking at it for a future doing it. I don't know how it's going to work, actually. 84850 steve@lbc.co.uk. Somebody says, we used to watch Love Thy Neighbour plus Mind Your Language, but things change, don't they? If you actually, in fact, the fun thing was, in Love Thy Neighbour, which was Nina Baden's Semple, wasn't it, and Rudolph Walker, it was the black couple who always got the upper hand over the white couple. Nobody ever saw that. They just went, oh, it's very racist. It wasn't. In fact, if it had been racist, she wouldn't have done it. And he wouldn't have done it either, but they always got the upper hand in it. And Mind Your Language was the stereotypes of everybody. So the Italian was always, sort of flirting and flirtatious, and the Pakistani gentleman was always, doing stereotypical It was the whole thing. It was a class full of different people. But that's what it was. It was different in those days. Watch Fawlty Towers. See how much racism there is in Fawlty Towers. There's loads of it. Loads of it. Sometimes we went, ha, 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 ha. At one point, classic example, Sybil goes into hospital and the doctor is black. And Basil, who, the doctor says, oh, so you're here to see your wife. And he went, whoop, and he steps back. And you think, that's racism. There was racism against the Germans. And the Major was always talking about the Germans. And then in Dad's Army, they don't like it up 'em, do they? And all this kind of stuff. It was all over the place. But that was then. That was then. It's different. It's different now. Things have moved on, and people, just say, well, that's what we did. You can still buy all this stuff, though. I mean, in Fawlty Towers, the Major, of course, uses both the N and the W word in the same sentence. He was talking about cricket. They cut that bit out now. And yet, strange enough, I told you the other day, I was watching the film, which had the dog in it called the N-word, the Dam Busters. It was left in. They didn't take it out. I think they've obviously realised that, listen, you can't start changing everything around, but sometimes the BBC get a bit sort of funny and they don't sort of show things like that. And people, because everybody complains. Everybody complains about everything now. There's nothing I'm surprised they've still got the film Watership Down available, because that was a film about bunny rabbits being killed. And roadkill and everything else, and then, ants and all just everything. You could complain about anything, couldn't you, really? If you think about it, you could go outside into Leicester Square. I could probably have a field day this morning, complaining about things that are out there, like people. I always think the best thing about this sort of great world of ours is the diversity. The diversity. And somebody says, Jim, now you're moving towards your mature years and all the experience with it, would you accept a place in the Lords? Absolutely not. Absolutely. No, God, no. What for? What on earth for? Lord Allen of Twickenham. Doesn't quite sound right, does it? No, I'm not. I don't do things like that. I mean, most of them are asleep. I mean, I could fall asleep anywhere. Seriously, I don't have any trouble. So I mean, you can imagine it. And I'd just be in the... And they go, 300 quid just for turning up. Yeah, but for 260 I can go and pick daffodils down in Devon and have a lot, 8p a bunch. That's not bad money, is it? Only 300 quid a day these migrant workers are getting. And the police inadvisedly went down to complain about their treatment. They went, what treatment? We're being really well looked after. The caravans are spotless. They've got table tennis tables. They've got Wi-Fi. They've got everything. And they can earn up to £300 a day. The faster you are, the more money you will make. I think they do so many millions of daffodils, and they pack up, so many, and they wrap them up. So 8p a bunch. So, 10 bunches, 80 pence. Multiply that by another 10 bunches, and so you go on. 10, 8, they're 80, so that's £8. And so before you know where you are, they say minimum you should make is 60 quid a day. I mean, heaven, it's almost going to overtake begging in London. If you've got any money? Of course I haven't got any money. I'm working. I have to work for everything. I've got tax bills, VAT bills. I've got huge bills to pay. You want to see my petrol bill alone on the car? Like yesterday, the bloke in the phone box, quite clearly an attention seeker. He's been unemployed for 4 years, ever since his parents died and they lost the house. And he has a brother and he has family. I don't want to be a burden. So instead, he sits there and people give him money. That's called begging. Get off your bum, get out there, find a job. 4 years, he can't find a job. Blimey, you can't be trying, mate, can you? I think, in some people's cases, who was it? There was a presenter on LBC who said a short while ago, you get some people who want to be on the streets. Not everybody, but some people want to be out there. They like the lifestyle. In the summer, it'll be full of people. We've got a bloke sleeping in a tent down the side of it here. You know, why would you come here unless you were begging? And that's what it is. But in this particular case, he said people give him money and food and everything else. He said, all I want is a flat. I'm thinking, oh, that's what you're after. You're after the free flat. Well, unfortunately, you know, people have to work for flats and things like that now. Grace says, I don't do Valentine's, but I enjoy my pancakes. One of the things I recycle is the empty plastic bread bags, as I don't do much rubbish for the rubbish bin. I use my bread bags for putting the rubbish in. It's funny, I use the 10p bags from the supermarkets. I've got a hook in the kitchen, it's like a bit, and I hang the 10p bag on there, fill it up with rubbish and throw it away. It's 10p, I couldn't, you know, got more than that in change on me. I don't worry about 10p now, never have done. I remember the jam manufacturer putting the gollies and issuing the metal pin badges of gollies. Well, it'd be a bit stupid if they were of naked lap dancers, wouldn't it? Well, no, probably not, actually. Probably not. But no, yes, they were very popular, but it was years ago. And then we had Tony the Tiger advertising, they're great. And that was Frosties, wasn't it, I believe? And various other... It's always different things, different animals advertising things. Why they thought a tiger could advertise Frosties, I've got no idea. Where is the connection? Tony the Tiger, a friend of mine did a football promo for advertising Frosties, and they had to work with an imaginary tiger who was in goal, and they had to pretend they were a local football team. And they just sort of had a picture of him saying, right, that's what you're aiming the ball for. And Tony the Tiger did it. But why a tiger and Frosties? I've got no idea. Why three little people snap, crackle and pop? They don't snap, crackle and pop at all. They just make the noise of like any cereal with a bit of milk on it. Or the Cocoa Pops monkey. I'd rather have a bowl of Cocoa Pops. Or, I just don't understand why. A monkey and chocolate. Is it coconut? But it's not coconut, is it? It's cacao. So why a monkey? Somebody somewhere must have thought that's the kind of thing that sells it. You've got all sorts of things, haven't you? There's sort of all sorts of animals. I'll be your dog. Dun, 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 dun. That one again, I can't remember what that was for. That was a drink, wasn't it? Can't remember what the drink was. But it was, I'll be your dog. I used to quite like it, actually. Although my favourite one was the... Please don't write in with your favourite adverts. I had a horrible feeling I was going down the wrong road here. I'm a secret lemonade drinker. Whites. White. And then he opens the fridge door. White's lemonade. And so it went on. And I used to think, we're very much geared to that, aren't we? Years ago, it was put a tiger in your tank, which was Esso petrol. Why a tiger? I have no idea. Why has Lloyd's Bank got a black horse? What's that got to do with it? What, does that mean somebody's nicked your money and they're running away very fast? Where does the black horse come from? Don't get me wrong, I love that. Scottish Widows, there was a woman in black. You know, a very young widow as well, yes. I can only assume her husband must have been spirited away by somebody. But all those different adverts, all those things, and then, you know, I liked the company so much, I bought it. Victor Kiam, Remington, I think. And then we had the bloke who did the turkeys as well, Bernard Matthews. He owned the company. All these different people, because it was proven that if the person who owned the company came out and stood in front of it, you trusted them more. And I interviewed Victor Kiam years ago. And he freely admitted that it was him fronting up the company going, I'm Victor Kiam. You know, if you're not satisfied, I'll give you your money back. And the most famous person, of course, was Colonel Sanders, who did exist. He did sell chicken. That's what he did. And people would go from far and wide. When you hear James Martin this weekend, he goes to a place in America, Texas. He loves Texas. He's got a series. It's every afternoon on the telly. And... he said, this place is enormous. He said, it's like the biggest place you've ever been in. He said, when we went in there, he said it was really quiet. He said, by the middle of the afternoon, there were 2,000 people doing line dancing. The barbecues are turning out food like there's no tomorrow. He said, it all comes on plastic trays because they haven't got time for washing up, so they throw it all away. Kia ora. I'll be your dog. Yeah, Kia ora. We used to have if you went to the cinema, you had a Kia ora, because that was a bit of a novelty. A drink where you push the straw through the little bit of metal. I was like, oh, I used to love Kia ora. Love Kia ora. I haven't had that for yet. Well, I haven't had it since I was tiny. Much as I would want to drink it. It's like, I do love mango juice. I love if you're lying in bed at the moment, you're going, shut up with the talk of the drink, because it's making me really thirsty. It's like milk. When I wake up first thing in the morning, I have a glug of milk, ice-cold milk. My fridge is, as I say, working overtime at the moment. And a glug of ice-cold milk, and then that sets me up for the cup of coffee. And very happy I am too, thank you very much indeed. But this afternoon I shall be sitting half naked on a bed whilst people look at my burns. And to be honest with you, I've kind of sort of lost the will to live with it, because I think they've done really well. And I shall put a new armature thing on, because this one's looking a bit manky at the moment. And I shall put that on and then sit there, and they'll go, we think we don't need to see you anymore. Because I don't think they're going to do plastic surgery over them, because I don't really need it. And also, they've asked me, do you have any problems, you know, with sort of burns or anything? I said, no, not really. I'm not going to be sitting on a beach anytime soon. And I think what they do is some people need counselling, because if they're particularly badly scarred, then it's a difficult thing for them. But I said, no, it doesn't bother me in the slightest, really. I promise you. I'm not remotely bothered by being scarring. I just tell people I've been in a fight and you want to see what the other bloke looks like. Much better. Steve, you must go and see the film Black Panther. Yes, I know all about it. I watched Ellen DeGeneres the other day, and she had one of the stars on there. And it's an all-black film, isn't it? I think, barring a couple of people, I think. One of these new superhero films. I can't wait. Can't wait, but I'll probably end up waiting until it comes out in DVD. That's the way I manage to see films nowadays. One here. When did Paul Smith send anybody a special Red Rose Valentine, signed, cash on delivery? Well, a bottle of vodka is cheaper than dinner for two, says a 4am spiker. He did send somebody a special Red Rose. He did. His other half, I think. That's how it works. You know, I don't know. I just got, Happy Valentine's Day. It doesn't mean anything. It's just something that we sort of say round here. There'll be somebody, I promise you, probably Sheila Fogarty or Ian Dale will probably today get flowers delivered to them, and we'll all go, oh, that's quite nice. Because there's quite a number of girls in the office who will probably get Valentine's Day gifts from their other halves. Actually, somebody asked me the other day about somebody who works in the building, and they said, oh, you keep talking about this person who works in the building. What are they like? And I said, they're really good looking. I said, they're really, really good looking. And I said, but you have another half. And they went, yeah, but there's no harm in looking. I shall tell the producer who is as we go to an ad break, because it's 12 minutes to 5. 8 minutes to 5. It's Wednesday, the 14th of February. It's Valentine's Day. Actually, what I'd quite like to see is sort of Valentine's buses doing the rounds in London, with people standing there handing out red roses, or somebody at Waterloo Station this morning handing out something that's sort of vaguely romantic, like chocolates. Of course, nobody would have thought of it, but if they do, I'll let you know. I could eat an ice lolly. Right now, I could eat an ice lolly. It's a bit cold, but I don't see why that should make a difference. I just feel like an ice lolly at this time of the morning. It's a bit odd, isn't it? Really. But I bought some milk yesterday, which actually doesn't sound very exciting, but I promise you, I do like a glass of milk. It's good. Steve says, little Julie, I still remember a Valentine's verse I got in a card at school. Our love is like a golden chain that links our hearts together. If you should break that chain, you'll break my heart forever. Apparently, the young widow in the Scottish Widow TV advert was a very young Kirsty Allsop, says Joseph. And Dave says, I watched 5 minutes of Create and Craft TV channel. Very camp, expensive, and loads of cards and ribbons. Yeah, that's good. Petrol station flowers on Valentine's Day. Show somebody you care more than not at all. Yeah, I don't know, Pablo. I don't think you can. I think the Ginster pasty kind of works well, doesn't it? I love you to buy you a pasty. That's about as good as it gets. Simon says, Esso usually put a tiger in your tank because an elephant wouldn't fit. I really get the odd people, don't I, at this time of the morning? Why can't I get a classier audience, like Ian Dale? Why can't I get Nick Abbott's, or maybe not Nick Abbott's audience? Why couldn't I get, I don't know, I get some odd people at this time of the morning, but I work on the assumption we're all here together, so we're obviously all odd together. Why not? There is a society, isn't there, called the Odd Fellows. I don't know why they're called the Odd Fellows, presumably because they are. But I quite like that idea. So the Bobsleigh Britain chasing the Olympic dream by doing lots of game shows to try and make some money. Unfortunately, didn't do very well at all. The Valentine's dine-in meals that are as salty as 6 Big Macs. Women are not the romantic sex. It's men. Men are the romantic people. And little Julie says, I cheated with my pancakes, bought pre-made, had a mixture of lemon, sugar and syrup. Yum, yum. Yeah, you cannot beat somebody else making who wants to make pancakes? I mean, seriously. You'd have to be off your trolley unless you're Mary Berry. Why would you bother doing it? My mother made her own pancake mix, and that was great. and she would pour it into the frying pan, make the pancakes. But in fact, if you buy them, as I did the other day, you just get some lemon juice. I don't put sugar on there, but I just sort of squeeze that on there, fold them over, and just eat them. And they cook really. All you've got to do is put a frying pan on. I don't even put anything in the bottom of it. I just turn up the heat on it so it's really hot, and they cook really quickly. Because they're already cooked, aren't they? They just need to be heated through. But as opposed to all that faffing around making the blooming things, no, just, sugar, lemon juice, and a bit of syrup. I mean, some people put a bit of jam on there. They keep trying to convince you to put chocolate spread in there. Ugh. You don't want anything like that. It's going to make you feel really fat, isn't it? John says, I got very nostalgic recently. Well, you probably would at your age. He said, so I bought the box sets of the Wombles, Captain Pugwash and Camberwick Green. Hours of happy viewing. Yeah, the Wombles looks terribly dated now, doesn't it? It almost looks as though it was filmed in sort of, through a piece of gauze. But I agree with you. Camberwick Green, I would never buy the box sets. I'm currently working my way through the entire series of Golden Girls, which sort of gives you a rough idea where I'm coming from. It was Amanda Lamb in the Scottish Widowed ad, says Elaine. Amanda Lamb, thank you. Not Kirsty. It was Amanda Lamb. See, I knew people know these things. People are very good at sort of checking it out. So, Oxfam in the papers again today, as you knew it would be. They're now saying, because Minnie Driver is the first star to quit as ambassador, there's going to be others. There has to be. Because where you've got underage teenage prostitutes in a country where prostitution is illegal and people taking advantage and sex scandals, then you just don't have anything to do with it. You really can't. And I'm looking at the one here. They've got Labour's money man, who became the charity's treasurer, the Oxfam boss who bagged £670,000 BBC payoff after being tainted by the Savile scandal. This is Caroline Thompson. These people must be sitting on an absolute fortune, but I think it's going to collapse. I really do. Andrew Pearce has done a big piece on it today, and they've also got the sex shame past of the disgraced aid worker who already been forced out of another charity. The Mail tracked down Eagle's Nest lair where he lured teen prostitutes. And this is here. And the one word that the aid industry dare not say, paedophilia. Paedophilia, rife in countries where people who are into this kind of thing can carry on their sordid lifestyles and nobody says anything. Until now. And also these six-figure salaries, these people are being paid, whilst they're sort of being able to abuse people, because nobody says anything. These people come from, different worlds where they don't have any money, they don't have any rights, it appears. Now they've got a voice, now they can be heard. But it's been a long time coming, so if this is the end of Oxfam, well, so be it. I'd be very surprised how it can survive after this. I mean, nobody wants to be tainted with paedophilia, do they? So maybe it's about time that we sort of closed it. Meghan Markle wearing I can only assume they were a dreadful pair of Posh Spice's clothes, because they don't seem to fit properly. She's wearing this ridiculous outfit. I don't know what it is, but anyway. And then they tell you how much it costs. It's nearly £2,000. Nearly £2,000. And they've got a lovely story about ants. I don't know if you've ever been to London Zoo or any of these sort of places where they keep ants. In this particular case, they've got ants, and you can see how their house works. They've also got a piece of rope outside where the ants go from one side to go and get leaves and then bring them all the way back across the rope right above your head. It's fascinating to watch. And ants, they say, will die to save their comrades, which is, we always knew that. You always knew that ants, bond together. We've seen the films, we've seen the documentaries, we've seen all the stuff that David Attenborough's done on ants, and it's a workforce. They're like bees, aren't they? They're like worker bees and stuff like that. Steve, the shop you mentioned with the gollies was in Harwich, and they had them in their window. This, by the way, hangs in our hall. It was from the shop in Harwich. My grandchildren love it, and it was from the shop there. So that's what they do. This is what looks like a golly from a minstrel show. Minstrel shows were very popular. They were everywhere. In this country, every single seaside resort, every single holiday resort had a minstrel show. People playing banjos and singing, the Robert E. Lee and those cotton fields, but everything. It was a different time. We accept the fact that people change. I'd love to see the ant version of Saving Private Ryan. Get him, come on, get him. I can't remember if I saw, actually, Saving Private Ryan. I might have done. Also, all children must learn the times tables by the age of 9. Bit late, isn't it, really? They should do it long before that. Coming up to the news at 5 o'clock this morning, it's Steve Allen's Early Breakfast. It's very nice to have your company. I hope you're well. Hope you're looking forward to another freezing cold blooming day in London. But it being Valentine's Day, you won't be coming out, will you? You'll be staying in bed today. There'll be somebody sitting on the train as you go home tonight or on the bus with a huge bunch of roses. And all the women who don't have a bunch of roses will be sitting there throwing daggers at her. It'll be the most hated person on the bus. Better not to actually give anybody anything at all. Menus to keep up your blood pressure. So what they've done is they've analysed how many calories, and it's Morrison's that get the most calories in their dine-in meal for Valentine's Day. We'll run through the best ones and the worst ones after the news, which is next. Hi, it's Steve Allen's Early Breakfast. It's LBC. It's nice to be company. Hope you're well. Valentine's Day. And no doubt you've been out and bought a Valentine's meal. And you probably bought roses. You probably bought chocolates. And if you're buying one of those dine-in meals, they say some of them are as salty as 6 Big Macs. So, for example, let's run. I've only got 4 here. There are probably many more than 4, but you might be one of those people who is going to go and buy one of these meals. From M&S, Italian antipasto delicatessen section, gammon shanks, orange and cranberry sauce, truffled cauliflower cheese, and then Dutch apple tarts. Sounds delicious. Especially the truffled cauliflower cheese. I'd go in and buy that just by itself, I think. I'd be very happy with that. The calories in that, 1,129. Salt, 7.16 grams. Saturated fat, 23.9 grams. Sugar, teaspoons, 10 teaspoonfuls of sugar. Waitrose, mussels in a bisque sauce. Coq au vin and cauliflower cheese. Obviously the big popular... See, I love cauliflower cheese, but apparently it sends your blood sugar through the roof, but it's delicious. Salted caramel and chocolate tarts. That is 998 calories, so it's less than Marks and Spencer's. 5.49 grams of salt, which is less than Mark. Saturated fat, 23.5 grams, marginally less. 8 sugar teaspoons. Over at Morrison's, champagne and salmon risotto. That sounds delicious, does it, straight away? Salmon, we got salmon again, for main course. Salmon, smoked haddock and king prawn pie and chips. And chips? It's not very romantic, is it? And then Belgian chocolate and blood orange tarts. That is 1,600 calories, 5.45 grams of salt, 34.4 grams of saturated fat, and 10 teaspoonfuls of sugar. It's probably because of the Belgian chocolate and the blood orange tart and chips and everything else. At Asda, they've got camembert, sloe gin and cranberry dip, pork and chorizo stew, garlic and herb mash, broccoli and cauliflower cheese. The big link here, this is very odd. I've never known them do cauliflower cheese before. I was always a big fan of cauliflower cheese. And then then they've got red velvet melting puddings. So cauliflower cheese, I like the sound of it, but Marks and Spencer's do truffled cauliflower cheese. I might have to sort of go to Asda or something. They all do it. But I have a smoked haddock and king prawn pie. Anyway, for Asda, 1,552 calories. So it's second highest. 5.24 grams of salt, which is about roughly on average. Saturated fat, it's the worst at 37.6. And how many teaspoonfuls of sugar? 13. 13. That's probably because of the red velvet melting puddings. So which is the best one? Waitrose. Mussels, if you don't like mussels, you're going to hate it. Mussels in bisque sauce, coq au vin and cauliflower cheese, and then salted caramel and chocolate tart. Ooh, yum, yum, yum. Actually, I could just eat all of that now, couldn't you? That make you feel slightly hungry this Valentine's Day, but I know what you're like. You're lying in bed at the moment, you've got your Winsett nightie on, and the old man's got those pyjamas on where you haven't sewn the fly up, and it's... sorry, take that image out of your head. And you're going, anybody want a cup of tea? Yeah, all right, we'll do it in a minute. Clunk, back to sleep again. It doesn't take much, does it? And what have they got here? Prosecco and Thornton's chocolates at the Co-op for a tenner. Okay. Roses, a dozen Valentine's roses at M&S for a £5. So cheap, isn't it now? I didn't think we got dozens of things. Also, Pick of the Pink Fizz, There's all sorts of... Do you know there is a vintage thing here? Pinky and Perky, they call it. I quite like that. £8 at Morrison's. I do like some of these fizzy drinks. And rosé seems to be making a comeback. So that's good news. Also, I'm trying to find something else, actually. Oh, there's the other story which is in the paper today, which I was going to do later, but I'll do it now, actually, is the ex-JP, Justice of the Peace, who is suing over the sacking for his gay adoption views. It's not the first time we've had one of these, but it's being done... It's not done in a normal court because it's already been decided, and so what they're actually saying now, he says, I was portrayed as homophobic and I refute this. It's just that he has a view on gay adoption. Do you remember that years ago, you probably might not remember it, there was the couple who had the bed and breakfast, and a bloke booked it. What he didn't tell them was that he was gay and he had a partner, and when they actually get there, the couple, who were Christian... I mean, you know, as if you can't be gay and Christian. Of course, there are thousands, if not millions, of gay Christians. And they said, well, I'm sorry, we're not... we don't want two men sharing a bed. Like, you know, you kind of sort of worry about what goes on behind closed doors. You know, you might find people who are sort of anti-heterosexual or something, and they don't like the idea that they might be up to a little bit of hanky-panky behind the doors. And this is a couple here, and this is Hazel Mary and Peter Bull. They run a hotel in Cornwall. They've got no option but to sell the house and business after failing to attract enough custom, because they were no longer listed by Visit England since the Equalities Act was brought in. In 2008, they had to pay £3,500 to Martin Hall and Stephen Preddy after they were refused a room at the hotel on religious grounds. Mrs. Bull says they've now been forced to put the 9-bed property on the market. We were optimistic in the spring. Why wouldn't be with the summer ahead? We've had a better summer than we thought, but nowhere near good enough to pay our way, not even half full. And that was because, you know, since the controversy, the couple have faced vandalism. I mean, I think that's atrocious. I really think, you know, I can't go for that. I can understand somebody having a view and we might not agree with them. As far I saw it as, I couldn't care less really what their religious beliefs were, I saw it as homophobia, because they refused a couple on the grounds that they were gay, and they've worked all their life. It's on the market for £750,000, which is a lot of money, but it's a 9-bedroom place. It probably could be run as a bed and breakfast. And the case was dismissed by the Court of Appeal, so in fact they lost out. But it was discrimination on the basis of somebody's sexuality. You know, whether they then come back and say we're not homophobic, because quite clearly they must be. You know, there's only so many ways that you can twist something round. They refused this gay couple a room on the grounds that it interfered with their Christian beliefs. Although, to be quite honest with you, what would they do? I mean, are they saying that every 2 blokes who turn up or 2 women turn up, they must be gay couples? You know, whether this couple told them they were gay, I've got no idea, because I can't remember that much of the case. But I do remember that people in the past... There's loads of blokes who share rooms. I was down with a couple of friends of mine were down in London a short while ago, and they shared a room. I don't think the Travelodge went, excuse me, are you gay? And they were sharing the same bed. You know, it is possible that people do that. I think actually in April, the Supreme Court, as it is called, will review the famous gay cake case. Do you remember the bakery who said that they wouldn't do the gay cake? And this, I think, was, if memory serves me, it was called Asher's Bakery, I think, and they were found guilty of unlawful discrimination because the cake was going to say support gay marriage, and it was 2 of the people from Sesame Street, and the bakers claimed in a legal brief that God considers it a sin to make cakes with pro-gay messages on. When does God ever say that? When has God said that? I don't remember reading that. In the Bible, does that say anywhere that God says you must... What on earth are they talking about? Anyway, you know, I don't have a problem with them having a belief, but now 5 of the 12 judges will travel to Belfast to hear the appeal, which will be streamed online. The Supreme Court, says Lady Hale, is committed to being one of the most open and accessible in the world. Well, this would be very interesting. I couldn't even hazard a guess at where this one's going to go to. I can't, but they're going to travel to Northern Ireland to hear the case. So there you go. Will the bakery sort of still be found guilty on it? And they say here, the Institute's Deputy Director of Public Affairs, Simon Calvert, said, equality laws are there to protect people from discrimination, not to force people to associate themselves with a cause that they oppose. And we've seen it more and more. And mainly it does come down to Christianity. But as I say, are you telling me that there's no gay vicars in the Church of England, please? Are you telling me that there's no gay choristers, that there's no gay clergy in the hierarchy of the Church of England? You're telling me that there aren't thousands, if not millions, of gay Christians? You know, you're telling me that there aren't women bishops, women clergy who are lesbian? I mean, come on, for goodness sake, we are in the year 2018. You know, there are gay people everywhere now. I mean, some of them even get as far as Speaker of the House of Commons and things like that. Some might even get to Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, God forbid. But, you know, it's a case of it. If it doesn't frighten horses, don't worry about it. But they go in to ask for a cake and they get rebuffed on it. Excuse me. So we're going to watch that one in April. That'll be a big one, won't it, in April? Sheila Fogarty will get her teeth into that piece of cake, I should imagine. I'm always fascinated, but the couple who claimed that they weren't homophobic, the two blokes who wanted to stay there must be loads of men who, you know, rugby teams who are going, and they go, well, you have to bunk up 2 or 3 to a room. Do they then go, excuse me, is anybody gay in this room? Ridiculous. I've never heard anything like it. People worry about things so unnecessarily nowadays, don't they? You sometimes wonder whether we've wandered back to the dark ages. I hope we haven't. Still to come, we've got the latest squeeze for Paddy. I'm really annoyed about this. I'm really, really annoyed. This is Paddy McGuinness. Has he cheated on his wife? Who cares? He wants to cheat, let him cheat. It's up to them to sort it out. What annoys me is that he comes back with a bodyguard. I mean, hilarious. This is Paddy, supposed to be man of the people. I thought he was, you know, Jack the Lad, all the rest of it. Now he's fallen into that. Don't talk to me. I've got a bodyguard with me, mate. No likey, no lighty, no touchy, no talky. And you start thinking, who are you? Who are you? You know, just some bloke who does a show on the television, very personable, very chatty, and he goes out and he gets drunk with one of the Appleton sisters. I should imagine there must be loads of people in the country lay claim to that one. And then he goes back up there, and as opposed to staying in, and she says, right, I'll make a cup of tea and we'll have a chat about, you know, exactly what you've been up to and where it's going to end. No, they both get in their separate cars, okay, and they drive out of their property and go to a local park, so all the photographers follow them. I mean, why did they just stay indoors? I don't quite understand it, unless, of course, they're attention-seeking. You know, it could be that, and then he'll go, oh, I really love you, and what do they do with that? And by the way, we're expecting another baby. And we'll go, oh, that's okay then. That's okay. But it seems ridiculous, doesn't it, that you would drive out of the house and go and have a meeting in a public place with the photographers there just taking pictures, you know, and she sits there with her head in her hands and all this kind of stuff, and he hugs her. And it's all done very publicly to get pictures. And I'm thinking it's a bit shameless. Interestingly enough, Paddy McGuinness and Nicole Appleton have now unfollowed each other on Instagram. I mean, she apparently had sent him loads of things, so I'm sure it's all good. And, you know, whatever happened, I mean, oh, come on, it was a one night, or it wasn't a one night, or it was a 2 night, or he's seen her before. I mean, who cares? Do what you like, pal. Do what you like. The only person who suffers is you and the wife. You know, if she thinks that the marriage is savable, save it. If she thinks she wants out, get out then. Makes it much. A word of it. Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. We're having this discussion in the studio about who's had Botox and who hasn't. Now, of course, as you know, I would never have any form of cosmetic surgery. How can you improve on perfection, I say? There is no point. And, you know, and there are people around here who are panicking over, at the age of 24, they've started getting lines. They've had them for the last 10 years, of course. You know, and if they really think that putting Botox, in other words, putting something that freezes your skin into it, of course it freezes. Of course it freezes. That's what it's supposed to do. It does. It stuns your face. It doesn't contract the muscle. That's what people who sell this rubbish to you. How much do you pay for this? How much do you pay for this Botox stuff? How much do you pay for it? 200, 360 pounds. They saw you coming, didn't they? 360 quid. I tell you what, come round my way. I'll inject some water into your face. I've got needles. I've got needles on me now. I can just sort of put into my syringes. I can put other things in, and then, you know, and so you believe, because they said, oh, I've done it for the Beckhams. You don't seriously believe that, do you? What a load of old codswallop. Honestly. And you're generally really mean. You're the person. So, in other words, did you not forget your wallet when you went for the Botox? Oh, sorry, I've given it away. Given away who it might be, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe you seriously. I know you tweeted a picture. I don't believe it, though. I think that was something else. You did. You sent it to me. You sent a picture to... Well, it is, because I'm retweeting it now. I'm retweeting. How many syringefuls of Botox do they pump into your face? 4. That shows how big your face is, doesn't it? Me, half a syringe, because I'm petite. You, like gargantuan man, 4 syringes. What on earth will you have that done for? You must be mad. Absolutely stark, staring mad. They won't preserve your looks. They went years ago. I'd hang on to your hair if I was you. I mean, there's no point trying to preserve your looks. You must not interfere with your body until you get advanced in years. So next year for you. You mustn't ever do. You must never do these things. You really mustn't. Because then all of a sudden you don't look. I mean, Aussie boy, as you know, he's 25 and he's gone gay. Grey. And he, I don't know, he's gone back to Australia. God knows what could be happening. But he's staying in a bed and breakfast, probably by himself, I should imagine. And he's losing his hair. I mean, completely, he's losing his hair. And I'm thinking, don't do anything to it, because it just looks awful. You must be as natural as you can be. I mean, you must be a deeply, deeply unhappy person with the way you look. Why would you worry about a few lines? That's your personality. Well, in your case, your downfall. But, I mean, that's the way that people see you. They go, oh, look, lines. Ha, 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 ha. If you can't move your face after you've had these things and all of a sudden it becomes rigid, what you're doing is you're putting poison in. That's what it is. It's poison, and it freezes the skin. Once you've started having it, it freezes it. It does not extract the muscles. The rubbish they've fed you to get 360 quid out of you, whereas I can't get 25 quid to go to blooming Nando's. I mean, that's like pushing it, isn't it? Oh, well, I've £360 to have my face frozen in time. They might as well bury you now in Tutankhamun's vacant tomb, and we can dig you up in 300 years. Go, look at that, isn't that marvellous? His skin is still as fresh. What do you mean you don't want people knowing about it? You sent me a picture of it. I'm a radio presenter. I tell people things. I tell stories. I tell stories about people's downfall. I mean, you might as well, literally, if you wanted to have your forehead and everything else flattened out, lie on the ground, I'll drop a concrete slab from here, and then we'll watch your face flatten out a bit. You don't have it done now. It only lasts a few months. It won't last 6 months. I promise you now, it'll never last 6 months. You're going for a top-up already. This is just madness. Seriously, you must be mad. I would never advise anybody to have anything done to their face. It's how much? £700 a year top-up. You must be making more money than... Oh, the top-ups, I'm not surprised at 360 quid. Was that for each syringe or for all 4 of them? And where did he get it from? The internet, maybe? Did he buy it on eBay? How do you know what he's put in there? Did you see it? You don't know, do you? You see, the trouble is, you can say Harley Street. Their room's rented by the hour, Harley Street. That's what that is. I can go to Harley Street. I can go and buy, can you believe this, equipment in America or in this country to do all sorts of things, and I can start offering Botox or anything. I don't need a licence to do it. I can go and buy it and start doing operations. No, you can't. You can go, anybody can buy it. It's not difficult. You can buy Botox on eBay. I bet you can. I promise you. I'm really anti this sort of thing. I'm anti people who sort of, convince people to have it. Our local hairdressers, we had a hairdresser in Twickenham who was offering it. It's either retired GPs or people like that. But no, I'm sure you can buy Botox on eBay. I'm pretty certain, because I'm sure it came up a short while ago, and I remember thinking, well, that's blooming dangerous. Thank God you can't buy insulin on eBay. Although, actually, having said that, you might be able to. So we'll just have a quick check just to find out. You can buy it. There you go, you can buy it. Anybody can do that. That's why I'm so anti it. Because, you might, so you'd rather go to somebody you don't know as opposed to me, your best friend, your only friend in the whole wide world. I would want you to look like Katie Price. I would be having you dressed as Katie Price. Absolutely. Look at the state of her. Look at the state of her. There's a classic example of somebody who has gone completely over the top because they go, oh, that's nice, and somebody says have a bit more. It's like, when people have liposuction, the fat doesn't go back to that area. No, it goes everywhere else. So in other words, before you know where you are, you're 32 double D. Because it's all moved up. You've got to be... Honestly. Seriously, I'm really disappointed. You've completely ruined and taken the edge off Valentine's Day. And I was going to buy you Valium, as something to sort of calm you down. Well, you do need Valium. You do. You'll go and sit in somebody's house and let them inject your face. Honestly, dear me, honestly. I'm so horrified by that. And also, hasn't made any difference. When did you have it done? Hasn't made any difference. Takes a week to work. Like some magic, Puff the Magic Dragon kind of thing. It hasn't worked at all. You look exactly the same to me. Oh, you're not supposed to look different. What's the point of having it done, then? Why'd you have it done if you don't look any different? Well, that's a waste of money, isn't it? 360 quid and you don't look any different. And you've just admitted to me. Subtle. You just said you don't look any different. Why have you... Don't you shout at me when I'm doing a radio programme, trying to explain to people about why you should not have it done at your age. You're too young. You're too young. Your looks are going to go out of the window. I'm not letting you speak because you're not a guest on my programme. I'm talking at you, not as part of the conversation with you. Honestly, it's just ridiculous. I'm spreading propaganda about you. Absolutely. Oh, it doesn't make any difference. You don't see anything for a week. What's the point of having it done, then? You're going to look like Daniela Westbrook. You are going to end up looking like Daniela Westbrook. The next thing is you'll have to have your nose done. Then you won't be happy with this. Then all of a sudden, you'll see a grey hair and you'll start going, well, that's it. I'll have to start... You've got grey hairs already. At your age. Honestly, look at me. I'm just growing old gracefully. Or was it with grace? I can't remember. Anyway, I wouldn't ever dream of doing that. As always, my bank manager threatened to withhold the account. She said, if I see you've taken any money out and had Botox done, she said, I'm closing your account down. So there you go. But, I mean, don't take my word for it. I'm just concerned for you. I'm a concerned person. Oh, Lord above, honestly. Small wonder I'm going grey. Small wonder I'm stressed out when I leave. Every time I leave this studio, there's another thing that you give me to worry about. Now, that photo that I've got of you in the office, we're going to have to drape it in black, aren't we? Because there's going to be no happy picture of you, is there, in the office? There's going to be a picture of you looking like you've been caught in headlights by a 17-ton truck on a road leading to Henley-on-Thames. And there is... how did he know he was going to be hit by the truck? He didn't. It came as a huge surprise to him. I'm amazed that you would spend that much money. I thought, if anything, you'd have spent 600 quid on La Prairie cream. Do you have creams in your bathroom? Putting out... It's not working, is it? It's really not working. Anyway, that's the annihilation of him. Gone. Anyway, right. Next time we see you, you'll be a completely different person, won't you? Yeah. Can't wait to see it. We'll all be sitting here going, does he look any different? And the producer will be saying, he looks exactly the same. And you'll be going... It's subtle. You'll be Pauline instead of Paul. I'm thinking of that now, actually, aren't you? Don't need to wait till next week for that one. You tell me you haven't had it done. Tell me it's a joke. You've really had it done? Oh, for God's sake, honestly. Are you mad? Seriously, you should have told me this before. I'd talked you out of it. I would have talked you out of it. I knew somebody who had it, and they ended up... They didn't have any expression in their face at all. I mean, you never started with expression, but, I don't want to be talking to a blank canvas, sitting there, and you go, I'm really upset, and I go, how can I tell? I'm really happy, Steve. Don't make me laugh, because we won't know. You went, it'd be like Pam Ewing in Dallas. She couldn't move her face either. She married Dr. Harry Glassman, who was a plastic surgeon, and from that moment onwards, she became Vacant Pam. And it was that sort of look, and they go, JR, and you... Oh, no, that was swelling, wasn't it? You're not getting... Well, it's like having surgery. You do not need it at your age. Don't do it anymore, says Zach. It's not worth it. Waste of money. I'm 38 and never done a thing. Trust me, stay natural, far more attractive, and you're gorgeous anyway. No, he's not, okay? And he's not gorgeous, and it's not attractive. You see, I'm just advising people. He says thank you, Zach, but through those numbed nips, and a bit like that, isn't it, really? Let's wait and see next week. All right, see you later. Be good. Can't believe at that age he's having stuff done. Why would you want to have stuff done at that age? Honestly, sorry about that, but I just don't want people to change themselves. I just want people to look, like coming in here and the producer goes, oh, by the way, I've just had this. Why? Why? You've had a haircut. Yeah. When I get a haircut, nobody notices when I get a haircut. I have a haircut, and my hairdresser always sort of does it, Kasha, and I come in thinking, oh, it looks completely different. Nobody says a word. Nobody says a word to me. I'm going to let it grow this time. I'm going to look like Catweasel, I've decided. LBC News Time, 5:30. Botox. I ask you, Botox. Seriously, it's only the second person I've ever met who's had Botox. And I just don't think you should ever stick needles into your face. Look at poor Katie Price. Look at the disgraceful mess that she's ended up with because she's had cheap cosmetic surgery. If you're going to have cosmetic surgery, and they won't do it over here. They will only do it in one of these private clinics. They won't do it. You can't get it on the NHS because, you know, unless there's something the matter with you. And to be honest with you, I think there is something the matter with her. I think she's body dysmorphic. Steve, Mr. S, will end up looking like a Batman villain. I know, I was shocked. I seriously was genuinely shocked. He sent me a picture this week of this little tray, you know, like they use in all the doctor's surgeries. It comes on a tray within a tray, like a little kidney dish, and these 4 syringes. And I thought, no, maybe not. And then this morning he tells me, so there you go. Steve says, Paul, I've had liposuction as I'm a gay bodybuilder. A gay bodybuilder? I'm not too sure about that one. I thought all gays were bodybuilders, aren't they? A gay bodybuilder. Does that make a difference? I looked great for 3 months and then the fat came back in the same place. I did it twice. It was a waste of money. I'm 40 and I have Botox and it's amazing. Don't go down that route. You don't need it. In Las Vegas, as part of room service, you can order Botox and fillers. So the burger comes with a beautician in a white coat holding syringes, says Ulrike. Quite a few of the presenters on the old Bid TV had Botox. Their faces didn't move. Botox, you're putting a poison into your skin and it freezes it effectively. People never have movement. So you can always tell, you know, on the television. But as I say, you've only got to watch Loose Women to realise that poor old Katie Price, I mean, she's gone so far, she'll never be able to repair her face again. Because she'll have something else done. And what she's done is, because your face changes as you get older. I know that because I've got older and my face has changed and, you know, you lose a bit of hair and then you gain a bit round your tummy or you do this and that. And you just have to put up with it. If I really, really wanted to do something, I could probably go out there, get a personal trainer, and I've been offered tons over the years, as you can well imagine, because there's so many personal trainers who listen to the programme. They go, I'll get you fit, Steve. I'll get you fit. And I could swim every day and do all these sort of kind of things. And in the end, you just say, let nature take its course. As long as I don't become, you know, completely ridiculous. So that people say that. On the other hand, I don't want to be too sort of thin, where people go, is he okay? People say that if you lose weight, don't they? And you're on the television, not that I'm on the television, but I mean, if you were on the television, they go, lost too much weight now. I don't want to look sort of emaciated. Steve, lucky for me, I go to a church here in New York City, where we accept everyone. Every morning, the pastor will announce that we accept everyone, no matter if you're LGBT, transgender, black, white. Even if those crazy other so-called Christians believe that being gay is a sin, Jesus said that God is there for the sinner. It's the sick who need a doctor, not the healthy. So if anything, they should be glad they got gay people in their bakery. Jesus never banned Christians from providing services to gays, says Charles. I thought the whole idea of being Christian was that we accepted everybody. I say we because I class myself as having a faith. And I like to think that, you know, there is no discrimination. I couldn't care less whether somebody's black, white, gay, straight, transgender, transvestite. I really don't care. I seriously couldn't. If they're a nice person, they're a nice person. Why would it matter? You know, for sort of people to go, oh, we are Christians again. You think, you might be a Christian, but you sound a bit isolated. You're running a guest house. This goes back a few years now. And you don't want 2 gay men sharing a bed. And yet, is it because did they announce they were gay? Do they look gay? I understand. You know, you see people, you know, if Bobby Cole Norris turns up, you're not going to be thinking straight man, are you, in any way, shape or form? But so they obviously have sort of prejudices against gay people, which is a bit sad, really, because, you know, I think people sort of think, oh, God. I mean, what were they thinking? The moment the bedroom door was shut, they'd be screaming from the chandelier or jumping from the wardrobe. Of course not. Of course not. That would be absolutely ridiculous. Steve says Percy, Valentine's Day is supposed to be romantic, but by the time me and the missus have scoffed the pizza, the cake and the wine, I'll be too stuffed for any of that naughtiness that goes on. Easy peasy lemon squeezy to make your own pancakes. You just mix flour, egg and milk, says Matthew. No, you just go out and you go and buy a packet of ready-made pancakes. I'm not making pancakes. I'm not making them. I turn the frying pan on, my Jamie Oliver pan, which is really good, actually. It's quite a deep frying pan. It's very good. I like this one a lot. And turn it up full, and then just throw the thing on. No oil, no nothing at all. And then squeeze of lemon juice in the middle. No sugar, because I'm a good boy and I'm diabetic. And then you fold it over and you eat it. And then while you've started to eat it, you put the next one in the pan. So by the time you've eaten the first one, then the second one's ready. And so it goes on. But takes the same effort, says Matthew, as preparing a bowl of cereal. Well, that's far too exhausting. Who does it? The producer does a bowl of cereal every morning. He'll go out, then he'll come back and tell me what he's having. The other day he had Frosties. And today it'll be Oh, right, he hasn't got it yet, so he doesn't know what it's going to be. But he always has his bowl of cereal every day. Even if you buy it pre-made, you still have to heat the thing. You might as well make it fresh. And just please, real lemon, not lemon in a little squeezy thing. Yeah, I mean, lemons are so cheap, aren't they? 30 pence for a lemon. Probably get 4 for £1 or something like that. And you just literally cut it in half and then just squeeze it over. I mean, you cannot beat it. You know, the idea is simple. You know, on the television, as I say, they keep showing you chocolate spread and bananas and everything. It's a pancake, for God's sake. It's supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be basic. So hence the sugar, which we don't have now, and the lemon juice. It's lovely. No point telling you this time of the morning, because wasn't that Jif lemon day the other day? Was that pancake day yesterday? Right, so today's Valentine's Day. Now you're recovering, I should imagine. 84850 steve@lbc.co.uk. We'll put everything in. My mother used to put a 10p in our pancakes covered in foil. We had to be very careful when we ate them, but it was worth it. What for? What would she put a 10p in a pancake? I don't quite understand that one, John. He says, there seems to be another John who emails regularly, so given I don't want to be associated with his messages, especially the one about the bus moving off, so can you call me Big John? No, I'm terribly sorry, we're not that sort of radio station. You'll be called Ethel from now on. You're going to be called Ethel. Mary at the weekends, I think. And we'll leave it like that. Steve, I thought I was the only one, says Jane, who loved the 80s Golden Girls. Still funny. Still funny. Still funny. Richard says the original Scottish Widows girl was Bond girl Deborah Moore, Roger Moore's daughter. In fact, from 86 to 95, and was replaced by Amanda Lamb. It's getting too complicated now, OK? You're now telling us things I really don't care about, which is good. I, too, recently had a DVD nostalgia trip. It says Bish buying rhubarb, Tiswas and the herbs with the adventures of Parsley, a very friendly lion. I always said on my death certificate it'll say, cause of death, nostalgia. It's not what it was, though, is it? I love nostalgia. I'm a big nostalgia. That's why I love YouTube. I love YouTube. I've never had so much fun as in the morning where you think of a song. And the other day it was the Bay City Rollers singing Saturday Night. And so I put that in, and up comes all their television appearances. And then that, in turn, leads on to other groups. So then I got the Love Affair doing Everlasting Love, Rainbow Valley and bringing on back the good times. Then I got them on German TV shows. And before you know where you are, your entire life, your early days is fantastic because it's all there on YouTube. Everything. Every pop song you could ever think of, there will be the video for it. Or, you know, people introducing from Top of the Pops, and you look back at these aged pop presenters who in their day were very young. And then all of a sudden, they sort of get a bit older and they go, oh, so-and-so who used to work on Radio 1 or whatever it was, is now 78. And you think, really? Really? They can't be. Because, you know, the nice thing about radio and television is that people stay the same age. So when you saw John Noakes on the television, he'd always looked like John Noakes to us. He hadn't changed, had Botox or anything else like that. He was just John Noakes when he climbed up the ladder at Trafalgar Square, I tell you. Even driving past and through Trafalgar Square and looking at Nelson's Column, which I do every day of my life, I think to myself, not in a million years would you ever get me to even put feet on rungs of ladders. What a nothing hold... Oh, my godfathers, I don't know how he ever did it. Pancakes. Here we go. Dave is in Basingstoke. Oh, Basingstoke. Basingstoke. See Basingstoke and die, they say, isn't it, really? What's Basingstoke famous for? Nothing. Nothing at all. Milk, eggs, flour, in equal measures by volume, chuck in liquidizer, job done. Why don't you just go and buy the pancakes? Somebody's already done that bit for you. P.S. Liquor is the only additive other than lemon or golden syrup. Or do you mean liqueur? I used to have a banana-flavoured liqueur. I've got a thing about bananas. Frozen bananas. They used to sell them years ago in sweet shops, and it was sort of like a sort of a toy banana, but it was sweet, and it was covered half in chocolate. Chocolate-covered bananas, I think they were called. God, they were vile. Steve, Oxfam. I find that the term underage prostitutes is not really helpful, and it seems to shift the blame towards the victim. In my opinion, it should be called exactly what it is, which is child abuse or paedophilia. Given that consensual sex is by the very definition impossible if the victim is underage, then it's nothing short of rape and should be treated as such, and the perpetrators, along with anybody who knew about these crimes, should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But the trouble is, it's not in this country, is it? It's elsewhere. We don't have any jurisdiction in Haiti. It's illegal in Haiti, but what Oxfam did was they just dismissed people. They just sort of, they sort of lost them. And so that was it. But it's nothing to do with us. That's the big problem. Phil Vickery did some great pancakes on This Morning yesterday. Well, I mean, if anybody would know how to do pancakes, it would be Phil Vickery. I should imagine he's very good at in the kitchen. Very good. And Steve, with your track record, I dread to think of you tossing anything in the kitchen, says Jill in Glasgow. I know. I'm a worry to myself. I think I'm always, when I do things, I poured out a glass of milk the other day and I thought to myself, please don't knock it over. I was holding this bottle of milk and I thought, knowing my luck, I'll sort of turn round and the bottom of the bottle will hit the thing and I'll have milk all over the place. But I didn't. So that was good. Another day we survived. As I say, once we've been back to the hospital today, I'm sure that the plastic surgeon will be saying, Stephen, you look in remarkable condition considering you had no Botox. Pretty nice to have your company. 10 to 6. Happy Valentine's Day to you. I don't know what we're supposed to do on Valentine's Day. We're supposed to be feeling romantically inclined, but to be honest with you, at 10 to 6 in the morning, who the heck feels romantically inclined? More sex, please. We're over 65. I don't know why. If you're sort of 15, 16, 17, 18, you probably think that over 65s should be dead. And you're probably thinking, oh, they don't have sex, do they? And the answer is, they do, more than younger people, apparently. I don't see why anybody would think in this day and age that because you're over a certain age, you don't stop thinking about it. Even in the Golden Girls, Estelle Getty, who plays Mum in it, is talking at the age of 85 of still having sex. So there must be people of a certain age who still have sex. I know, it never seemed right, did it, when you thought about your parents, thinking they can't do, can they? Sometimes they might do, and then you think, oh no, I'd rather not think about that at all. Can a £600 cream, this is La Prairie, really be the elixir of youth? Well, you know, ladies, and probably a lot of gentlemen listening as well, will spend a fortune if you think you've found the Holy Grail, if you think you've found a cream that you can put on and it makes you look younger. We're all going to buy into it, but I'm not going to spend £600 on a pot of cream. You know, bad enough spending £100 on something. Going to be the romantic and tell Hayley I love her, says Dave the Truck. As always, goes without saying, brilliant show. Tell her how lucky she is. Oh, she knows. Why don't people just use polyfiller instead of Botox, though Katie Price might need cement, says James. She's ruined her face beyond all shadow of a doubt. All the experts have said exactly the same. She's obviously body dysmorphic, a bit like that Rodrigo Alves. He's another one who doesn't really see what we see. And that's when people need to get medical help. And I think in her case, she's had so many boob operations and face operations. She's just ruined herself. It doesn't make it better. It just means that she's now, because as I was explaining before, your face changes as you get older. You fill out a little bit. Your jaw might sort of drop down. You might end up with, you know, double chin or all these sort of things. If you have it taken away, it just means that part of your face doesn't fit in with the rest of your face, and that's why it turns out to be a, you know, little bit bad. Trauma. We talked to Adrian Lester about trauma. They got the 10 big questions. It's a thriller. I mean, Adrian Lester was fantastic, absolutely fantastic, really wonderful. Also, the story on the Mirror this morning: Labour's new battle to end animal cruelty. This is including an end to the badger cull. They want to make the UK a world leader on animal rights. Yeah, right. Try telling that to Battersea Cat and Dogs Home, where every year they get inundated with dogs that have been abandoned and cats that have been abandoned. Very, very difficult, very difficult. Also, countdowns. Nick Hewer is desperate for Zeds, so he can manage a spell of snoozing after work. He says he can't sleep after hosting Countdown. I know, because you get yourself, you know, onto a higher plane, don't you? And then it becomes very, very difficult. Oxfam everywhere in the newspapers, together with the football coach's 36 sex attacks. This is Barry Bennell, and now he's been convicted of another 36, and there's more. There's more to come on this one. It just goes and goes and goes and goes. Plus picture of Paddy McGuinness, this time, strangely enough, wearing a baseball cap. If only he'd worn it when he went out with the Appleton girl, it would have been so much easier. And so he then goes to a park near his house. I mean, why they didn't just stay in, I don't quite understand that. Unless it's all some big joke and this is all, they all know about it and they're all in on it, and it's designed to sort of give him publicity, because Nicole, she knows he's married. What on earth she was doing out with him, linking arms with him and that kind of thing. Is it possible to be friendly with somebody without the sex word creeping into it? The answer is probably not. Grace says, I like your way and buy pancakes. However, I made pancakes, and for a totally blind person, I didn't do it all bad. Ran out of fresh lemon. I had to have my pancakes with hazelnut syrup. Oof, no, I can't do anything like that. The idea is that you've got the sweetness of the pancake and the sharpness of the lemon juice. That's why you put a little bit of sugar on to take away it's like sucking a sherbet lemon, isn't it? And you put that lemon juice on there. I mean, you could probably, if you don't like lemon juice, you could probably squeeze orange juice onto it. So that would probably work as well. But I think lemon juice, because that's the taste that you remember from your childhood. Nice, but it doesn't matter, does it? I made pancakes with 2 bananas and 1 egg, beating together with some cinnamon. Delicious, says Sandy. And somebody says, I'm a fellow nostalgia fan, and like you, been watching fantastic YouTube videos of London in the 90s, which reminds me of when I was growing up. So nice to see Soho in all its former glory. It made me happy to see the iconic Routemaster buses. You know what they say? Nostalgia ain't what it used to be. Daniel's in West Hampstead. Actually, I love the fact you can still get on these lovely Routemasters. Is it the Routemaster that goes down to the Tower of London, the old-fashioned buses? The Heritage route. They're fantastic. They really are good. You suddenly realise you have to practically bend double to go upstairs in these buses. They're not quite tall enough for you to stand up. Here's a picture of Prince Harry. Never really makes an effort when he dresses up, does he? He only seems to have the one outfit. He's the worst-dressed member of the royal family I've ever seen. Hardly ever wears a tie. And just looks scruffy. You know, he does not ever look smart. He's wearing a coat that does not go with his outfit. I mean, I'm not a fashionista, as you know, but he goes off with Meghan Markle the other day, and they go to where did they go? Edinburgh, the homeless shelter in Edinburgh, and they say here, this is Amber Grafland, who's the fashion designer. Fashion director for the Mirror. She says Meghan's outfit cements her fashion icon status. They do talk garbage, don't they, these people? Cements her fashion icon status. Well, because she's wearing clothes. Apparently her tartan Burberry coat, £2,000, was a nod to her hosts, and her £425 bottle green bag was by Edinburgh-based Strathberry. The bag sold out within hours of her visit. And that makes her a fashion icon, does it? God in heaven. The rubbish these people come up with. Harry wore earplugs when the 1 o'clock gun sounded. And cheeky fans plead with Meghan, don't marry Harry, marry me. Yeah, but, you know, you don't get better than marrying a member of the royal family. He's actually filthy rich and you're a peasant, OK? Years ago, you'd have been collecting nuts in the forest, you know, and they'd have come past and gone, get on your knees, you serf. They don't mess around these people. But it's just that he's badly dressed. But then he's never been able to dress. The only time he looks smart is when he's wearing his uniform, which I'm assuming he's going to get married in. A bit like hagging onto it. It's also Ash Wednesday, says Christine. A black fast day, no meat allowed in the beginning of Lent. Yeah, like that's going to happen. Like that's going to happen. I had beef burgers last night. Not in anything. What did I have them with? I can't remember, actually. Might have been a tin of tomatoes. I really can't. Is that funny? You know, you think, oh no, I had it with a tin of beans. A tin of beans and some fresh, well, I'm assuming fresh beef burgers, which was very nice indeed. I don't know what I'm having today. Probably nothing, actually. I always try and starve myself before I go to the hospital. Don't want to sit on the bed looking a bit sort of fat, do you? Brits charge twice as much as the Americans for the same number 7 range. This is from Boots. Despite being made in the UK, the number 7 range sells for knockdown prices after being shipped across the Atlantic. A number 7 high shine lip crayon costs £9 here. In America, £4.37. Get your friends to send it to you. Much easier, isn't it, if you've got friends in America? A Boots spokesman says, here we go, we offer UK customers great value in lots of ways we know they really appreciate. Not interested, love. Just explain why it's £9 here and £4.37 in America. That's all we need to know. I'm not interested in anything else that you come up with. Also, number 7 beauty products are sold at US chain Walgreens and its sister firm Duane Reade, after a merger between the two pharmacy giants. So if you've got friends in America, get them to go and buy it for you and stick it in an envelope. Send it over. Much, much easier. You probably still have to pay sort of tax. Also, Heathrow Airport has condemned a duty-free promotion which was deemed to be racist towards Chinese people. The promotional event, held by World Duty Free, a commercial partner of Heathrow, which runs shops in the busy airport, required Chinese travellers to pay a minimum spend of £1,000 to receive a 20% discount. Shoppers from elsewhere in the world were given the same discount after spending just £250 on goods. Chinese customers took to social media platform Weibo to express their outrage. It's been shared more than 75,000 times. Mengun Zhao says, I'm so naive, I believe I needed to spend $500 to get the VIP voucher, because it just changed from $300 to $500 today, this morning, before the World Duty Free shop cheated me. Why should we suffer this unfair racism? Ridiculous, honestly. Every day there's another thing, isn't there? Anyway, listen, we've got to take a short break for the news at 6 o'clock. Thomas Cook are flying Brits to Tunisia. Do you want to go back to Tunisia? 3 full plane loads went the other day. This was after the shootings on the beach over there, and now they've said that they're now flying people again. So interesting. Just about to get on a plane is Paul and Mel. They're going overseas. They're going for a lovely holiday, and I'm sure that they're at the airport, and now they're going to get on the plane. They're going to a place called Mexico. They're going to Mexico, and you have a nice time, you two. So Paul and Mel, safe flight. At least you're flying into a bit of sunshine, which is always good news, because over here we're freezing to death at the moment. It's February. It's Valentine's Day. I know every year we have the same old rubbish trotted out in the newspapers. Pictures of, Valentine's Day flowers, pictures of Valentine's Day chocolates, pictures of meals that you can buy for Valentine's Day. But apparently, they all sound quite nice. And they've all got, this year, cauliflower cheese appears to be the popular favourite, which actually I'm in favour of, because I quite like cauliflower cheese. It's not very good for diabetics, though. I've suddenly realised it's very bad for you because of the cheese, I suppose, because it's probably not proper cheese at all. It's probably like a liquid sort of cheese. And they've got here, at Morrison's, 25p each for fresh oysters, because apparently they're an aphrodisiac. If, of course, you don't like shellfish and you don't like oysters, you're going to be violently ill of your partner. So the advice is stay well away from them. They're not an aphrodisiac, OK? Also, the stars who've dropped their social media ties after a cosy night out. Aged old Parsit, Appleton girl. And this is the former All Saints singer, Nicole Appleton. As I say, I don't know really what they do now. I've got no idea. One of them turned up in the jungle a short while ago and couldn't cope with life at all. But she's 43, but looks so much worse than poor Paddy McGuinness's wife, Christine, who's lovely and is trying to come to terms with whatever he's been messing about at. He has to go back, and then, as I said before, very odd, they go out to a public park as opposed to staying indoors and discussing, what might or might not have gone on. They go to a public park, so there's more pictures. To be honest with you, who cares, what's going on in his life? If he's that silly that he goes out and parades the Appleton woman, through Soho, that's his business. It's got nothing to do with us, but obviously the papers... And I suppose the next thing is there'll be an OK spread of how our marriage is closer than ever together. I realised I didn't get drunk with an old has-been singer. I decided to stick with my gorgeous-looking wife. But Paddy McGuinness, who presents a programme about people going out, has obviously made a bit of a mistake. Perhaps these people don't realise. You feel like saying to them, why would you want to jeopardise your marriage? Why, when you've got caviar at home, would you want to go out with a bit of old gristle? What's the point of that? Unless the old gristle, judging by the look of it, drinks a lot more than the gorgeous piece at home. It was like, Princess Diana. Why would you want to mess about, with the most beautiful woman in the world to go out with an Audrey Roberts lookalike? And so it goes on. But you're probably going to get loads more of these stories over the weekend. Also, 2 fingers to the Tunisia terrorists because the Brits are returning. Mind you, the odd thing was, don't you remember, I remember seeing television programmes, that even the day after, the Brits were going, we're here on holiday, and they were going back onto the beaches then. The people who were out there, you'd have thought they'd have wanted to come home straight away, in case another lunatic starts wandering up and down the beach. And it was just bizarre. Just bizarre. Jeremy Kyle, they were doing a long advert on the television the other day for Jeremy Kyle. I thought, oh, God, honestly, poor old man who's going to marry the nanny. And they were doing an advert for the show. And what did they feature? People with no teeth, people with tattoos, people shouting obscenities at each other. It's the same old, same old. It's the rough end of society. And we put them on television. They go, the last time you were here, we did Jeremy, I want to do a lie detector test. Why? I want to find out if he nicked my mum's ashes. And we all sit there at home. Sometimes you can't believe these people actually exist. I thought they came from an agency. Seriously, I didn't believe that these people could be that vile, that revolting. And then you read what poor old Katie Price has been caught up in. The Sun this morning are running recordings, they say, of her threatening Alex Reid. You know, I can destroy him. She's that revolting. That revolting. And why, as I've said before, and I've got to say it again because I know they might be listening, you know, the loose women, why haven't they questioned her on this? That's the story in the paper. You know, and yet they give due coverage to Harvey's Law. Yet at the same time, you know, why have you been so revolting to Alex Reid? Why are you so revolting to every single one of your ex-husbands? Why are you so deluded that you think that this Turkish cosmetic surgeon, who you've not named, has completely ruined your looks? Such as they might be. Hungry Brits get Pancake Day. They actually prefer pancakes than getting soppy for Valentine's. And so they've got pictures of... There's a picture of Paris Hilton. Well, you know she's mad as a broomstick. Have you ever heard her being interviewed? She's off with the Pixies. Seriously, you'd have a better conversation with the Pixies. They've got a picture of Paris Hilton. Because she's more of a brand now. She's a bit like the Kardashians. Picture there, no, I can't do that one. I hate it when they go into court. It really annoys me. You get a really good story and they go, the case continues, so you immediately leave it. 10 years after her Brit Award success, Kate Nash is relieved that she dodged superstardom. Yeah, kind of went past me on that one, dear, because I've got no idea who you are at all. I thought they'd maybe made a mistake, but no, it is Kate Nash. And who's that a picture of? Little Minx. And it's... This is some joke, isn't it? It's Perry and Jessie. Sorry, they're with some drag queens. I thought it was actually them. I thought nobody could be that unattractive. And then I realised that they are the only unattractive group that we've got in this country. Sad. Elise hits the skids. Skating ace Elise Christie says she can't face living with the feeling of losing out on another Olympic medal. They're really... competitive, these people. I quite like watching it. I love the ice dancing. I always keep thinking, how do they stay upright anyway? But I do watch it in the early hours of the morning, and I was fascinated. And then I flipped over, because I'm a bit bored with the snowboarding thing. That's nice, but, you know, once you've seen it once, you've seen it all the time. And so I've got Bradley Walsh doing live from the Palladium, and it was lovely, and they had some people on there, and they had Ollie Mers's mum and dad sitting in a box. And then Ollie Mers does it, because he's one of the few people who can actually sing live. He doesn't need to come on stage, and mime his singles. And it was actually a really good single. I don't know if it was current or it was an old programme. And then we had Alfie Boe, and he was singing, what was he singing? I think it was a song from Tommy, which was lovely. And they had a magician on there. All sorts of people. And then they had Men in Raincoats or something like that. He's very good, Bradley Walsh, very good. Because he didn't know when he was talking to the two in the box, because they were there to see Madness. But they then told us that they were Ollie Mers's mum and dad. And he went, really? He seemed genuinely surprised. They didn't know who they were, which I quite liked. Also, the killer lion stalking TV survival stars. This is a bloodthirsty lion which ate a man, maybe stalking the survival of the fittest set. Try and make it interesting. And because, that bloke goes out there to try and poach lions. Unfortunately, the lions had a different idea. They ate him, but they left the head. So they knew it was him, and so now they're actually filming out there this dreary... They'll do anything to get publicity, won't they? The lion is now stalking TV survival stars. Their agents must be going, oh, God, we might lose a client here. Because if you think you're going to lose a client, you bring them back, wouldn't you? That's what I would have thought. Posh and Lex, Victoria's high maintenance. Dave raises the stakes, and they've got a picture here of Victoria Beckham wearing... It looks like a really naff boiler suit that you'd wear in the event of a nuclear attack. And she shared a few fun pictures on Instagram. Why do they insist on trying to tell us that Victoria Beckham's got a personality? What is it? That's the second time this week, I think, where they go, they'd like to do a documentary in America, a bit like the Kardashians, where they show the fun side to Victoria Beckham. The fun side is when she gets drunk on 2 sherries and falls out of a car. That's the fun side of Victoria Beckham, because she can't handle the booze, and sort of Brooklyn has to pick her up. Got a tattoo, mum. Because that's mum. I thought he'd call her Mumsy, actually. I always thought that would be Mumsy, or perhaps he'd call Dad Dadsy. But he's had more tattoos now. He's looking more trailer trash than his father. I mean, is he only, 12, Brooklyn Beckham now? Is he 13? Difficult to tell, really. Difficult to tell where he's going to end up in life. Lots of forums in the Daily Star today. My heart is beating for you. which is lovely, isn't it? You know, the number 4. And they've got all sorts of things here. To my wonderful wife of 47 years, wonderful mother, grandmother, and a lovely lady, happy Valentine's. All my love, Cider Man. What the dickens is that about? Who are these mad people who write this? Yeah, this is the Daily Star. Judy Baby can't wait for the kids to leave home so we can have each other again. Buzzy Baby. Are they on drugs or something, these people? I'm just picking these at random. To my darling husband, love you more each day. Happy Valentine's Day, Barbara. God, that's a bit boring, isn't it? You've got to work out whether or not it's your Barbara or somebody else's. Mrs. H, happy Valentine's. All my love, Mr. H. That's not H from Steps, is it? I think it's H from Steps. Could be, couldn't it? Happy Valentine's Day to Maggie, Petula and Trudy. May they never meet. Dusty. Lovely. I mean, this is perhaps your average Daily Star reader, I think. Another one here. To Muscles, LFC, my little red rooster, I love you. My Anfield hunk, that's Hairy Mary from The Cop. You sometimes worry about these people. I think these... Oh, I've worked out what this is! This is the running order for the Jeremy Kyle show. They've managed to get these people together, and they've sort of put them in the... You're going to be in paper. Oh, right, lovely. To my gorgeous wife, Alison, happy Valentine's Day. Ma Bonnie, wee Rose, Bobber. Do these people speak English or something? Is there something going on here that I've missed? There's one here. This one. My wife, Dina, been riding my crossbar for over 40 years. Dew Spike John. I think I'm going to be ill. Roses are red, grass is green. After a couple of toots, you'll know what I mean. So now we're advocating drug use as well, are we? You know, as we all have a little toot and then watch the wallpaper sliding off the walls, because that's your day. Thanks for the last 30 years, Nags. Happy Valentine's. Pen. Good Lord above all, I feel like I'm reading a different language here. And this one, just very finally, Casey Wasey, happy Valentine's Day. My gorgeous girl, love you so much. Matty Boy Scunny. It's another language, isn't it, really? It is like the Jeremy Kyle show. You know, very shortly they will be putting up subtitles on the Jeremy Kyle show, so you can find out what the God's name they're talking about. It's really worrying. You know, did you steal my mum's ashes? No, I didn't. Why did you say no? Because I was telling the truth. Lie detector says you're lying. I never was. I never touched those ashes. I thought it was pepper. That's how it goes, isn't it? LBC News 20. Nice to have your company. I hope you've remembered to buy flowers. If you haven't, you're in the doghouse all day. Ian Highland, together with Kevin, two of the best excuse me, TV critics. He's talking about Joe Wicks, the body coach. Hilarious voice. Hilarious. I mean, seriously, you couldn't make up the voice. He sounds like he's auditioning for a squeaky version of The Apprentice. It really is the funniest thing ever. And he's got all the does all the talks the talk and all this kind of stuff. Absolute rubbish. You know, he sort of drops this bad boy this and I'm boss and all that kind of stuff. It's rubbish. They just sort of invented him. I went through Costco the other day. They've got mountains of his books there. They don't seem to have moved at all. Mainly because he's too funny for words. The only people who seem to like him are the newspapers. The public don't seem to be remotely... But it's the voice. It is the voice. And, you know, if you've sort of watched this programme, if you had a look at it, you know, the 15-minute eating and exercising, you've decided you're more a pizza at the door person for 4 people, this is absolutely not the show for you. But if you fancy an hour with an energetic scamp who speaks like he's auditioning for The Apprentice and enjoys juggling fruit and veg in his local supermarket, step up. He's a hilarious character. It's just that it's a part of old rubbish as far as I'm concerned. I never bother with these people. Every so often, we have another year that throws people up and they go, this is the diet guru. We've had juicers, we've had all the rest of it. And it's just people making money out of people who are fat and want to lose weight. But, you know, the only way you can do it is little and often. It's not complicated. ISIS fans spoke about killing the Queen and the Prime Minister. This is somebody who tried to join ISIS. I don't think anybody's... Oh, look, Molly King again. Oh, you're getting a bit old to be modelling in your pants and vest, dear. She was posing for a campaign by a chain who says she's single. We know you are, dear. You were telling us only a short while ago you're having to go onto Tinder, isn't it, or something like that? I mean, it's a bit desperate. I wonder why. Is it because you're dull? Because you're boring? What is it? Or because you've got nothing to talk about? Because if at the age of 13 you've spent most of your time in your bra and pants and you can't find anybody, there's something the matter with you. It can't be anybody else. It must be you. Although, actually, Brendan Cole says he's seen you and AJ apparently is a little dancer, and being a little bit in flagrante kind of thing, because he's got nothing to lose now. They've dumped him from the dancing programme, and the best that Molly gets is a charity thing. Sorry, is Molly King of? She's very available. Yeah, she could turn up to that one. Would there be a goodie bag? No, we should get a picture of the paper. Oh, she'll be there. Absolutely be there. And so in the end, they have to sort of put her, in bra and knickers, and then you go, she's still single at 30, and you think it's because she's dull. Anybody can, let's face it, you've seen some of the people they stick on these Love Islands. I mean, it's a bit rough, isn't it, really? Also, the NHS in crisis. I love the NHS. I think they're fantastic. Every time I've been, and I shall go today, I don't see them as being in crisis. I see them as being a perfectly oiled machine who work very well to it. Well, they do in my hospital. They do in my hospital. Friends reunited. Lovely picture of the paper, an orphaned gorilla and a man who reared her before a heartbreaking end to their story. And this is the story about the gorillas in the mist. And I've always said, and I know that's not very helpful, is it really? Diane Fossey, who inspired Gorillas in the Mist, the film, I think if she hadn't let gorillas trust her, because she became their friend, they wouldn't have been annihilated. Because before then, they had a fear of man. What she did, she went there and then they didn't have a fear of man until the poachers got there and killed them. And that was the big problem. And then she went up in arms, and I thought, but wait a minute, you've just spent years letting them trust people, and there are people out there who are going to kill them because they want them for their feet and for their heads. They want trophies and everything else. It's very sad, very, very sad. I think we should leave all of these animals. We should be like David Attenborough. We film them, and then we leave them alone to their own habitat. We shouldn't ever let them get close to people. 1 in 3 pensioners say they'd go to bed with a new partner after the first date. Well, you have to. You don't know if you're going to be alive for the second one. How that work? Of course you have to do things like that. Also, the Oxfam boss, she got a £670,000 BBC payoff after being tainted by the Savile scandal, and she's running Oxfam. And to be honest with you, I think we're seeing the end. I think we're watching the dying embers of a fire that's got Oxfam written over it, and it's gradually disappearing. I think gradually disappearing. Joanna Lumley turned up the other day. She's ditched the peroxide for her latest role, sporting silver hair. I mean, she looks amazing. Amazing for 71. I mean, even she must probably think to herself, 71, I don't look 71, I don't behave 71. It is quite amazing that people nowadays, and you think, I wonder, would she have work done? Probably not. Would she look after her skin? Yes, probably. And that's why some people are just very lucky, and they don't look their age. They just don't. They sort of defy description. And I quite like that idea. I like the idea that people don't look their age, and then somebody goes, oh, my goodness me. You're how old? You go 71, and they go, 71? It's not possible, is it, really? But she looks great. She looks absolutely great. Really, really good. What are we going to have for this weekend? In conversation, I'll tell you tomorrow exactly who we've got for this weekend. You're not going to be disappointed. You're never disappointed. And that'll be on Saturday morning between 6 and 7, just before Andrew Castle's breakfast show, and then Sunday evening at 9 o'clock. Steve, I can't stand Joe Wicks. Useless person, says Raj. It was the voice that's hilarious. They say you've got this sort of bloke and he looks fairly, it's a bit like David Beckham. Looks terribly butch, and then opens his voice and out comes this little squeaky voice. Hello, everybody. And Joe Wicks is a bit like that, actually. I could never quite get to grips with it. I sort of thought to myself, where has he come from? And they sort of go, oh, I don't know, but he makes these films and books and tells you how to sort of be fit. All these people who, they don't mind taking their shirts off and everything else. I mean, people have said to me, Steve, would you do a diet book? And I've said, no, I absolutely wouldn't. It means taking my shirt off, and I don't think my body's in peak physical condition at this precise moment, nor do I think at any time in my life it's ever been at peak physical condition. So this is Joe. He's sort of Essex boy, but with too much hair and a sort of a carefully coiffured little beard thing. He's had this hit workout. They call him the body coach. They have to give people titles nowadays, but he sounds like this.
Hello and welcome to the Body Coach
Hello.
TV. This is an introduction to HIIT training, so that if you're a complete beginner, I'm going to talk you through it, help you build up your confidence and your fitness so that you can enjoy some of the other workouts on my channel.
Try butching up, pal. Try butching up the Body Coach.
30 seconds of work and 30 seconds rest. So all you got to do is work as hard as you can for that 30 seconds, enjoy the rest, recover, and then go again on the next move. We're going to start things off nice and easy.
I've had enough of him already.
So make sure you've done
He's got the irritant factor. He's got the irritant factor. Hello, everybody. He's a bit like that. And here he is doing an exercise in somebody's gym. And then they go, because he's the body coach. He is. You could make a spoof programme about him, couldn't you? You could see, quite a number of people doing spoof programmes. Hello, everybody. I once watched an episode of Jeremy Kyle, Steve. Well, you mustn't. Don't do it. Man in the supermarket yesterday was buying Valentine's flowers and a cactus plant. I think we know why, probably. Wish my husband Gary a lovely Valentine's Day, says Trudy. I love him very much. It's funny that, because he's... anyway, it doesn't matter. You'll find out probably later. Steve, I saw a very normal-looking Valentine's card once. On the front it said, roses are red, violets are blue, and then you opened it up and it said, I've never met anybody uglier than you. I like the cards that they sell now, which are welcome to your divorce. I was hopefully going to be sending one to Paddy McGuinness. And then I thought, no, the wife seems too nice, actually. Steve, I see that Joanna Lumley is presenting the BAFTAs. Mel and Sue, unavailable. Thank God. Thank God. I mean, really, I think we've had enough of Mel and Sue. Very sweet, very nice, but as usual with the BBC, once they've got somebody, they stick him on everything. You're going to be seeing Rob Beckett on everything for the next 20 years. You're going to be so bored with him. He's boring already. We're actually stretching a little bit of talent. A little bit too much. On holiday, skiing in Italy, Steve, with the family, says Dean, and it's currently 18. It was so cold up the mountain yesterday, my beer froze over. Lovely. And Sally says, I don't look my age, Steve. I'm 61, but I look 75. And I don't know, actually. And then somebody says, you're still single and in your 60s, so Molly King is still young compared to you. Yeah. And what? You never tell people. See, the trouble is, she's desperately lonely. That's the difference. That's the difference. She's desperately lonely. She keeps saying she can't find anybody. I can't keep them away. That's the trouble. I'm fighting people off. Mind you, judging by your picture, I suspect that you're probably fighting them off, but probably from a different perspective. The other way that the government, Steve, coughs up taxpayers' money to Oxfam is gift aid. I think it's included in the 31.7 of taxpayers' money given to Oxfam. Any taxpayer can sign up for gift aid. For every £1 raised from the sale of their items, the government adds another 25p. No small sum when it's all added up. I seriously think, judging by the bad publicity running on a daily basis, that Oxfam are going to have to rethink their entire strategy. Paedophiles working within the organisation, underage sex, prostitution, and people say these people should be brought to book. Yeah, but not our job to do that. Not our job to do it. Here's Meghan Markle, lovely picture of an actress wearing a coat. They obviously planned this and go, you're going to Scotland, could you put tartan on? Yeah, OK, why? Because they have tartan up there. Do they? Oh, good, great. And then, so they only put... So she puts a tartan coat on. He doesn't bother. He just sticks something on that's hanging behind the door, I suspect. As I say, Harry is the worst dressed. At least William is sort of very well dressed, but Harry not very well dressed. And then that small pony tried to attack him. You could tell he's obviously not comfortable around horses. I know he's actually done a little bit of polo, but to be honest with you, I'm not too sure about that. All children must learn their times table by the age of 9. I thought I learnt my times table long before the age of 9, at 8. 7, 6 are 42. Yeah. Because I learnt my times table up to 12. 12 ones are 12. You see, I learnt that. 11 twos are 22, 11 3, and so it goes on, 1's 2 is 2, 2 twos are 4, 3 twos are 6, 4 2. So I did I learnt to do them at school long before I was 9. Imagine by the time of 9, people don't know. Remember I went into a shop once, and I tried to buy something, and they couldn't work out. I had 10 candles, OK, at £18 each, 180. No, she made it. What did she make it? 198. She made it. I said, no, it can't be. It's 10 times 18. That's 180. And she said, well, it says on the till. Because what she'd put in is the price of one candle and then times by 10. So it gave the price of 11 candles. But she didn't get that for ages and ages. And I said, no, you must know your 10 times table. She didn't. LBC from Global are celebrating the biggest stars from the world of music, news and entertainment. The Global Awards are coming. An incredible night will feature live performances from Andrea Bocelli and Sam Smith. The shortlists have been revealed. So who gets your vote? Voting is open now. To vote, Download the Global Player app or go to lbc.co.uk. Thursday, March the 1st. One huge night. It's the Global Awards. Nick Ferrari with you at 7 this morning for breakfast on LBC. Minnie Driver has become the first celebrity to quit as an Oxfam ambassador following the recent sex scandal. However, the International Development Secretary Penny Mordaunt says the government won't rush into any rash decisions about the charity's public funding. Nick will speak to Miss Mordaunt's predecessor, Priti Patel, to find out what she thinks should happen. So, obviously, OK for things like that to happen, and we just carry on giving them money, don't we? The Israeli police say the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, should face bribery charges. Nick will speak to a biographer to get the very latest. Plus, as Labour plans radical changes to their policy on animal welfare, Nick will speak to the RSPCA to get their reaction to Jeremy Corbyn's new plans. That's all with Nick Ferrari at breakfast this morning from 7 here on LBC. It's Steve Allen with you until 7. We had a chart, Steve, says Linda, on our classroom wall for times tables. All you could see was where you were, and yes, by the age of 9, we knew our tables. I know. I can't, mind you, I find it quite difficult. They had a thing in the paper the other day saying, you know, people are supposed to know their times tables by the age of 9. That's the benchmark. I thought, well, surely parents should be teaching long before that. But there again, the majority of parents nowadays, they probably don't know their times tables either. And Jenny has got a husband, which is always good news. She lies in bed every morning when I've gone to work. How do you know? You don't know what she does when you go to work? You're just guessing, aren't you? Oh, if you put hidden cameras in there, by goodness me. Steve, I got a Valentine's card for my wife. It says on the front, I tolerate you. I quite like that idea, actually. I think that's what relationships are, toleration. We turned over a week ago as my husband finally had enough of the self-righteous sneering on Radio 4. Loving the show. Cheers us up in the morning. It's a little bit like sort of being hardwired into his own stream of consciousness, says Andy. If only it was so simple. If only it was easy to describe. You know that we do bobsleighing in the Olympics, and one of the blokes that we have out there is Toby Alubi, and he actually chased the Olympic dream. He went on different game shows. He went on Can't Touch This, The Cube, and Deal or No Deal. I wish they'd bring Deal or No Deal back. I wish they'd stop messing around at Channel 4. And his story recalls the film Cool Runnings about the Jamaican amateur bobsleigh team. Do you remember that film? I thought it was a great film, actually. It's got the most unlikely thing ever, but said to be true, ladies and gentlemen. Said to be true. Trolls fat-shamed pregnant midwife star. And people write, listen, trolls troll everybody. That's why they're trolls. They troll people. If I say, you know, I'm supporting, you know, the Jamaican bobsleigh team, they'll be writing and going, oh, of course you would, wouldn't you? You know, that's the sort of thing a troll does. They're not bright enough. Helen wrote, sorry if my chin's offended you. I chose to feed my baby healthily and not starve myself in a selfish act to look good on television. Would you say this to a pregnant lady's face? You should look on pregnant ladies' multiple chins with love. They're busy making the future. You see what Helen George has done? She's risen to the challenge, which is exactly what they want. These trolls are lonely people. Seriously, they don't have any friends at all. And so they write what they're looking for. They're looking for a reaction. And if they make you react to it, that makes them happier. They'll then write back going, your chins do offend me. That's the kind of thing they do. Because they're trolls, because they're lonely, because they've got screws loose upstairs, because they're life's losers. They don't have anything. This is their only means of communicating with the real world. They hate everybody. They probably hate themselves, actually, if truth be known. But what you should never do, Helen, is react to them. That would be the stupidest thing ever. You know, actually writing something back to somebody. I mean, this troll didn't tag her into the tweet, which presumably means she's been searching for her own name to see what people have been saying about her. It's a bit like poor Katie Price, you know. People have been saying this about me, and you think, oh, go away, please. Go away. The child catcher soccer coach, this is Barry Burnell, guilty of multiple sex offences against young boys who dreamt of soccer stardom. Obviously wasn't difficult. There's another 36 just been in court. This takes it up to, well into three figures. Also, what else do we have in the papers? I'm just trying to find something before we sort of get round to the front pages of the papers. Oh, birthday today to Kevin Keegan. How old do you think Kevin Keegan is? Go on, take a rough guess. How old do we think he is? 58. Says the producer, because he knows about football. No, 67. 67, there you go, big surprise for everybody there. And he grew up near Doncaster in South Yorkshire. Also, born on this day, Lois Maxwell. She played Miss Moneypenny. for a long, long time. She really did. And then they decided to change her. February the 14th in 1852, Great Ormond Street for children, with 2 doctors and 10 beds, admitted their first patient, who is called George Parr. George Parr. But it was also on this day in 97, jurors at the inquest into the death of teenager Stephen Lawrence decided he was unlawfully killed in a completely unprovoked racist attack by 5 white youths in Eltham. Also, the phrase explained this morning, pot, kettle, black. How many times? I've used that on the programme loads of times. It used to describe anyone who blames another for faults that they too possess and is therefore hypocritical. It's a 17th century phrase from the time when pots and kettles became blackened with soot after long use over an open fire. There you go. That's why. Pot, kettle, black. £600 cream made from caviar and gold dust. The elixir of youth, or is it just very fishy marketing? There's a GP here who says that she's convinced, but then you could probably find a GP, who'd say just about everything, couldn't you, really? Pay him enough money and they'll probably say that. Somebody says it's an investment in my future self. See, it's just a pot of cream. It's 600 quid. I mean, couldn't you just mix caviar and gold dust yourself? Would you... there are alternatives which can come in quite cheaply, much cheaply. In fact, you can get, you can get a Royal Caviar Extra Lifting Face Cream, 15 quid here, which is quite cheap. Oh, £6.99, Caviar Illuminations Day Cream. It's a budget offering. It's got face wipes and masks. Won't be back in stock until August. Loads of other places where it's much cheaper than the £600. I couldn't justify £600. Also, I'm not in favour of letting tenants have pets, whatever landlords say. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Thank you very much indeed. That's what Labour have said. No. Absolutely not. Also, what is this? Thomas gets all his lines right on Attenborough. This is Thomas Schaffenacre, who prefers to immortalise Sir David Attenborough in a completely different medium. Because Thomas, as you know, is a fantastic artist. He's unbelievable. Seriously, you just see him as a weatherman with his shirt off. But he actually took 100 hours to complete oh God, I didn't realise actually. This is Sir David, this is his picture. I thought this was a photograph of him. It is Thomas Schaffenacre. I'm not surprised this bloke's clever. He's very, very clever. He says, I could continue with even more detail, he said, but there does come a point when you just have to stop. So clever. I mean, really. Go online. You won't be able to spell Schaffenacre, but, it'll be interesting to watch you all trying. But go and check out some of his pictures. You will think they're photographs. You will really think they're photographs. He's absolutely brilliant. So clever. I can't paint for toffee. Couldn't even paint a toffee, I'm afraid. I'm just not good at things like that. Front pages of the papers we'll do in a moment. Valentine's Day. I know, you're probably trying to conveniently forget about it. And the wife sitting there in bed, or the girlfriend, if you're lucky enough to be in that kind of relationship, and or the boyfriend, or anybody else, and going, and the card is where? Well, I don't think we bother with the card. Okay, so, cup of tea in bed? No, don't think so. Flowers. Later. Right, so you can't even be bothered to get them, now, because people, I think we're just falling, because it now becomes cheap, doesn't it? 15, 20 quid for a meal for 2 people, £10 each, including a bottle of fizz or something like that. But they've all got cauliflower cheese on this year, so I'm as happy as Larry. Very, very happy. Steve, the trolls are desperate to get noticed by anybody. Their hatred is a reflection of their own unhappiness and lack of progression. Putting people down is the only way they know how to build themselves up. But what they're looking for a reaction. That's what they're looking for. They're looking to sort of to make you say something back. So if you write to an actress or somebody like that, excuse me, then they're looking for somebody to go, oh, who do you think you are? It's the reaction that gets them going. That's what keeps them fueled up. They like that. If you just totally ignore them, they don't like that. So they keep writing. As I said to somebody the other day, when somebody said, oh, I sent you something, I said, and you should have read it. And I said, well, I didn't read it because you're blocked. That kind of, and you remember thinking, because they don't know they're blocked. That's the trouble. So they keep writing, and then eventually they get a bit bored with it because they don't get any reaction. So you've just lost them completely. I love it. It's fantastic. Blocking people is the best thing ever. You can have the most fun with it. Even people who think they're not blocked, you just mute them so they don't know anyway. Sun this morning on the front page, Paddy and the wife, the very latest squeeze in front of the press. It's, it's all a bit pathetic, actually. It really is. He goes out, gets drunk on the town, turns up to a programme, probably drunk in the morning still, and then starts putting his baseball cap on, then goes back to see the wife, who's going, what's happening? You're having an affair with this Appleton woman? What's going on? He goes, no, I love you. And you go, well, what were you out with her for in Soho? Why was you drunk? Did she spend the night in the hotel? No, I love you, babe. All that kind of stuff. So they do this in a public park. Why they didn't stay at home to do it, I've got no idea. MOD hit by abuse lies scam. An Iraqi refugee told last night how he'd arranged hundreds of fake abuse claims against British war heroes in the Gulf. Whistleblower Basim al-Sadoun said it was part of a racket to win payouts from the Ministry of Defence. Gavin Wilson, Defence Secretary, said he was repulsed by the scam. Raw in the Sun this morning. Also, Boris Johnson will today issue a thinly veiled ultimatum to Theresa May not to agree to follow any EU rules after Brexit. Front page of the Daily Mail today. Talking about that cream, La Prairie. I wonder why, actually, because they normally flog creams left, right and centre. This magical cream here, $9.99. And all of a sudden it's going to turn back time. Oxfam, the backlash. Duke of Edinburgh scheme threatens to remove teenagers from charity shops. Didn't even know they had teenagers in charity shops. Mini Driver, first star to quit as ambassador. The Express this morning, it's badly dressed Harry, not even bothered with a tie. She's wearing a coat and trousers that don't really fit her very well. He's just not made any effort at all. He wears the most dull clothes. Can't somebody sort of go around there and go, you need to change your wardrobe? Just thought I'd mention it. Britain on flood alert, storms sweeping in. It's going to get cold. They've said you could have a load of snow this weekend. Won't be for us in London. We're far too above snow. Well, we've outgrown snow. House prices soar by $1,000 a month. About 12 grand a year they go up in London. Thank God for that. Certain parts of the world, they don't go up at all. If anything, they go down. Florida, very good place to buy places at the moment. Very good. Just got to watch service charges. Anywhere where they sort of say, you've got grass that needs cutting and gates to maintain and stuff like that, it's a service charge. Could Prince Charles miss out as head of the Commonwealth? Probably. I mean, he's getting on a little bit now, isn't he? Getting on a bit now. Although the Queen shows no sign of slowing down at all. I know she has, but still there. Bob Geldof on saving Keats's legacy. Good God, Bob Geldof's still around. I had no idea, actually. Thought he'd finished ages ago. Johnson moves to squash Remain resurgence. That's the I. The Guardian, former coach found guilty of sexually abusing youth footballers. This is Barry Bennell. 10 boys here. The jury returns today for a fifth day of deliberation. About 7 charges still outstanding against the man described by the prosecution as a devious paedophile. Well, it was on a plate. People basically gave him their kids to train. They were in something that they loved doing, and he was the one who was looking out for them, but in a completely different way. So, number of charges relating to 10 boys, 36. Charges, and that's just the tip of the iceberg in the world of football. The Times this morning, front page, Oxfam aid worker had already been investigated. Meghan Markle is obviously not bothering too much with the hair, I think, these days. And they've got a story here that she was wearing a Burberry coat which cost $1,995. Do you think it's paid for on loan? I only ask because they are notoriously tight in the royal family. Freebies are always gratefully accepted. Terrified driver quits Oxfam over sex scandal. This is Mini Driver, by the way. Boris says the EU laws are intolerable after Brexit. This is the Telegraph's front page. And Times Tables tests back for primary school pupils. I find it absolutely unbelievable in this day and age that, some pupils don't even know their Times Tables. They seriously don't. The Daily Mirror, traumas, the 10 big questions. This is Adrian Lester's big drama at the moment. Really good. Mind you, you've got it all going on in Neighbours. It's all going on at the moment with sort of the Doctor. And then you've got, there's loads of stuff going on at the moment. I tell you, television is like, whoa, frightened to move out of the house. Braying young Tories, according to the Daily Mirror, groped women at Boozy Bash. Honestly, this groping, it's getting a bit of a joke, really, isn't it? And it's always the word booze in there. Always the word booze in there. Curling is the equivalent, Steve, to bowls. Jane also tries La Prairie. It's not effective. Well, probably not for you, but then you see they would back it up with all their claims that, in fact, it works for loads of people. Works for loads and loads of people. That's what, put it this way, if people are spending 600 quid on a pot of it, it's got to do something, hasn't it? If not, smell like fish. I don't know what caviar smells like. I know what gold smells like. Lovely. Right, that's just about it for this morning. Oh, Brits fight back on the beaches. First holiday flights to Tunisia. And page 3 girl Lily for the Daily Star is wishing you a happy Valentine with the help of her bosom, which is lovely, isn't it, really? Obviously, she can't speak, and so better just get them out for the boys. Make sure you download the LBC app, because as well as listening to LBC wherever you are, you can listen back to this and all of our other programmes from the last week for free on the catch-up feature. And you can do that to get my free podcast as well. On my little bit extra today, I'll be talking about Mini Driver for the first time ever. I'll also tell you about Harry and Meghan's big day out in Edinburgh. Remember, they're just like you. Peasants. And I've got the story of how a topless model you've never heard of ended up in the sea. Probably the best place for her anyway. My little bit extra is available very shortly, and it's totally free. I'm back with you tomorrow morning. I expect you to be on time. If not, letter from your parents, please. Thank you very much indeed. Between 4 and 7, but do